across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. Good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk. Stand by for 3 thrilling hours of news, views and topical debate. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan and I'll be with you all the way to 10 o'clock. Get involved, get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000. That's 0344 499 1000. Or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and I promise to play your message out. It is Thursday, January the 22nd. Here's what's coming up. I've got a special report on Crowborough, the town the Home Office abandoned. Despite months of passionate protest by most of the East Sussex's community's 22,000 residents, the first of the 540 migrants to be housed in the local army camp were bussed in under the cover of last night. 27 of them. The rest will follow swiftly. This, folks, is Labour's failure to tackle the migrant crisis in all its lack of glory. Asylum seekers being sprayed all over the country with barely a thought for the long-suffering Brits, forced to put up with hundreds of undocumented, mostly male foreigners in their midst. Why should Brits have to live like this? 0344 499 1000. In other news, the government's appalling betrayal of army veterans who served during Northern Ireland's Troubles. Northern Ireland Secretary Hilary Benn pushing through an amendment to the Troubles Bill to remove immunity for soldiers. Now pensioners in their 70s accused of wrongdoing during those dark days half a century ago. Why did Ben go out of his way to do this? Why should these servicemen who did their duty way back when have to live with the fear of prosecution? They're old men now. Leave them alone. 0344 499 1000. Meanwhile, Labour's obsessional assault on Brexit continues apace after Tech Secretary Peter Kyle told the great and the good at Davos that Britain would be crazy not to consider going back into the EU's customs union. Is that what the nation voted for in the biggest democratic referendum in history? To take orders from Brussels and not to have power at the table? So if we go into the customs union, we're not a member of the EU. We'd have to take all their orders and we'd have nothing to do with who forms those orders. We would just be totally subservient, total servitude. Is that what you want? 0344 499 1000. Plus, the UK's ludicrous answer to America's ICE patrols. No armed agents kicking out illegal migrants for us. Oh no. Here in the UK, the job of tracking down the 53,000, count them, the 53,000 illegals and foreign criminals on the run is to be handed to 65 Home Office civil servants. 65 desk jockeys at the Home Office. What can possibly go wrong? 0344 499 1000. Meanwhile, Nut Zero maniac Crazy Ed Miliband's latest balmy plan to impose gormless green claptrap on an unsuspecting nation is set to cost an eye-watering £15 billion. Stay tuned for the shock details. Also tonight, triumphant nurse Jennifer Melley, who refused to call a racist male paedophile by his preferred female pronouns, joins me in the studio to reveal why her long battle against the NHS is far from over. Plus, I'll ask why scandal-prone Peter Mandelson, whose latest breathtaking bungle was to insist to the BBC that he knew nothing of his best pal of Jeffrey Epstein's penchant for sharing his harem of underage girls with his rich and powerful friends, doesn't just disappear like forever. And finally, royal guru Kinsey Schofield on Harry's claim that the evil British press have made Meghan's life a misery. All that and so much more, so don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Thursday night together. And let's go straight over to my guest for the first hour. He's not in the studio this week, so that's a shame, but he's down the line, as we say in the business. Welcome, Philip Kisley, Senior Fellow at the New Culture Forum. Hello, Phil.
Hi, Kev. How are you doing? All right?
I'm good. Good to have you on board. How's your throat? You're still sounding a little hoarse. Is that the word?
I'm still a little hoarse, but it's getting there.
Yeah, that's a bit better, isn't it? That is a bit better.
It's not, for someone who speaks for a living, it's not a great ailment.
Exactly right. Now, before we get to this extraordinary betrayal by the Labour government of our military veterans who served in Northern Ireland during the Troubles back in the 70s. We're going to catch up with this story later in the show, but I wanted to get your take on it. Crowborough, the East Sussex town with an army training centre in it, will now play host to more than 540 undocumented foreigners, asylum seekers, migrants. The first of these migrants were bussed in under the cover of night last night. 27 of them, more will swiftly follow. This is against the backdrop of passionate protests going back months. Thousands and thousands of people from the local area marching, begging the government to listen to them, that there are a community of 22,000. They can't take 540 mostly young men, of sexually active age, undocumented, unknown, moving among them, in their midst. The Home Office has not kept them informed, has not listened to them. The government has abandoned the people of Crowborough. We sent our Samara Gill down to Crowborough to gauge the reaction to this horror. Have a look at this.
I've been speaking with people who are absolutely enraged. Property prices, they think, have just plummeted in their local area. There's someone who's got an actual patch of land that is right where the barracks are, and they can already see men loitering. They're worried about the safety of their women and girls. This is a town that has been absolutely sort of plunged into mayhem because of the government's choices. Now, Shabana Mahmood has obviously said that this is a good thing because she wants to get migrants out of hotels. That's the whole Labour edict, is that they want to get migrants out of hotels and into army facilities that are a little bit less cushy and luxury. But the effect is still same on the communities. There are still men being placed into communities which we know nothing about. So I think the root cause, it has not been solved, and there are plenty of people out here that I'm just looking at behind me that are fearing at the moment and feeling like their town is a little more unsafe today.
Thank you, Samara. Later in the show, we'll be joined by Kim Bailey, who's been one of the leading lights in this ongoing protest. Very articulate lady who articulates the frustration, the fury of the people of Crowborough, a very pretty town in East Sussex. They said the government hasn't listened to them. They've kept them in the dark. Only about a month ago, they said, oh, well, maybe we were reviewing the decision. Maybe we won't. But, that was just flannel, to be honest with you. And in they came. Even the way they're bringing the migrants in, or they began to bring the migrants in, was sneaky. Bussed in under the cover of night last night. 27 of them, 500, way over 500 more to come. This is the story of modern Britain. Government has no idea how to deal with this escalating migrant crisis, is burdened with more than 100,000 asylum seekers around, and they're just spraying them around the country. I mean, OK, they can go about, oh, we're moving them out of hotels and into military bases. It's not really that. They're putting them anywhere they can. This is the story of modern Britain, a government that doesn't know what to do with these asylum seekers and just literally cannot afford to listen to the protests of the poor people who live in these communities, who are just saying we don't have the infrastructure for this. You can't put more than 540 young men into a town of 22,000. The results will be, I'll guarantee you, catastrophic. Your thoughts, Philip?
Yeah, well, not only are we going to make you incredibly unsafe, we're going to put women and children at jeopardy. We're going to do it in the middle of the night, and you're going to wake up to a whole new existence. A whole new town. Your town is going to be completely different. Your lovely little town is going to be wrecked. And in many ways, the remedy is far worse than the disease. Yes, it's terrible that we've got so many of these people in hotels up and down the country, but this is arguably far worse, isn't it? We're going to have, what, 500 of them in one place?
More, I think it's about 547 altogether.
All right, 547 of them in one place. That is utterly insane, in a tiny little place as well, a picturesque little place that is just going to have its whole identity transformed overnight. As Samara just said there, I mean, it's not just about safety, although for me that's the primary concern. It's about all the other secondary knock-on effects as well. Houses, but real estate is just going to go through the floor, and that is just shocking.
Yeah.
And here we have a government who will just try and do this by stealth, who have done it by stealth, and will do more up and down the country by stealth. This is the thing. We need to just mark every single one of these things off, and we need to return to them time and time again. And look what you've done. We want you to answer for this. This is, like I say, the disease. The remedy is worse than the disease.
Yeah, and make no mistake, this puts women and children in Crowborough and that area into danger. It really does. We know that. We hope nothing happens, but that's hoping against hope. Absolutely disgraceful. We will talk later in the show about this. We're going to talk to Kim Bailey. As I said, she's a brilliant lady who has led this protest, and we'll get all the details from her. The campaign group is called Crowborough Shield, and they are not giving up, but they're fighting a losing battle against a government that has abandoned them, doesn't really care about their concerns because they've got nowhere else to put these people. This is a shambles, Philip. It's a shambles. Kim Bailey later in the show, around about 8:20, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's get to another disgrace on the part. I apologise to Labour almost, because I've just got a litany of stories here. This is typical of that lot that are just disgraceful betrayals by Labour. This one is just awful. There's a thing called the Troubles Bill, right? And quite rightly, that offered pretty much total immunity to the old guys now. They're old men in their 70s. They're pensioners. These are military veterans, ex-servicemen who served in Ulster, in Northern Ireland, Belfast, during the Troubles in the 70s, half a century ago. And not so long ago, Starmer and the gang, or it was agreed that we would stop pursuing these people to potentially prosecute them for wrongdoing, for crimes that may have been committed during those dark days half a century ago, 50 years ago. What's the point? These people are 75, 77 years old. It's ridiculous. Why put old soldiers through this? Yesterday, the Northern Ireland Secretary, Hilary Benn, went out of his way, the government went out of its way to push through an amendment to the Troubles Bills, removing the immunity for military veterans, for our veteran soldiers. So now they can be prosecuted. And Hilary Benn said something sort of pompous like, we believe in the rule of law. What about the rule of decency? This is just all wrong. And it's likely to unleash a sort of tidal wave of prosecutions, possibly private prosecutions, and to torment these men who 50 years ago, half a century ago, basically did their duty in very difficult circumstances. We need to move on. What on earth are they playing about? Going out of their way to take the immunity away from our old soldiers who served in Ulster. This is a disgrace.
Yeah, every now and again there's a story, isn't there, that really takes your breath away,
Yeah.
because it's utterly inhuman on every single level. And what we've got here is a move that will result in lots and lots of old men being hounded to death in their retirement. This will result in so many vexatious claims. Let's just bear in mind that this is what we're talking about, the 1970s here. This is 50 odd years ago. This is, when I was born, for God's sake. It's a different time with different values. They were dealing with terrorism on the run, in the streets, day by day, minute by minute. They had to make decisions literally on the hoof that would mean life or death. Now, there are so many angles to this story. I mean, retired SAS heads have come out and said this is going to really impact on the security of the nation, because what's going to happen is now soldiers are going to think, well, my God, what's going to happen to me in the future if I make the wrong decision? Now they're going to hesitate. People are going to get killed. People are not going to do their jobs properly. And these old SAS guys are saying, well, look, this is going to result in national security being undermined. And I understand that. But my response to that is, what national security, for God's sake? We don't have any. We've got a Chinese mega embassy being built right in the heart of London. Our government has dismantled any security that we would have had. So this just works on so many terrible levels, but the human level is really, really important here. And I'm just thinking of all these poor old guys who did their jobs in the best way they possibly could, thinking, oh my God, they're going to come for me now. Because the law is always on the side of the terrorist. The law is always on the side of the wrongdoers. Nobody ever thinks about the people who try to do good, and it's a crying shame. It really is.
Yeah, and the older members of the audience will remember, like me, those dark days back in the 70s when, night after night, the news, the TV news was just full of horrific scenes emerging from that benighted country, the Northern Ireland, and the army, it was terrible circumstances for them. You had the IRA blowing them up. They were targets, these guys. They went through years of really difficult service there. Anyway, Hilary Benn, he said that the attempt to draw a line under the past, that was to say, let's not prosecute any more of these 75-year-old, 80-year-old men. Let's draw a line under the past. Quite rightly, it's ridiculous. What would be achieved? What will be achieved by prosecuting a 76-year-old guy who may or may not have done something that kind of slightly crossed the line 50 years ago, half a century? What will be achieved by that? Hilary Benn, in all his pomp, said that the attempt to draw a line under the past had fundamentally failed and caused a lack of trust with all the communities within the trouble zone. He declared that the Labour government did not agree with immunity as a matter of principle, and that those who served in the armed forces had to abide by, here comes the Labour chorus, the Labour mantra, those who served in the armed forces have to abide by the rule of law. And by the way, what he actually means is the rule of law as dictated by the European Convention on Human Rights. It's our old friend, the ECHR, again, which dictates that you don't offer immunity to anyone. So this is, I would suggest, a disgusting betrayal of our soldiers, men who were just sent there, who did their duty, who obeyed orders. Yes, sometimes things got very fraught. Yes, sometimes clearly the line was crossed. But half a century on, what is the point of persecuting people, men who are not far off 80 years old? What kind of a nation does that to its military veterans?
And it's all the more grotesque because the people who are pushing this, Hilary Benn, have no idea what whatsoever. They have no idea about the military services in this country. They have no idea about terrorism, urban warfare, guerrilla warfare, which is precisely what it was in Northern Ireland in the 1970s. Terrible stuff, really fatally terrible stuff. I'm really glad, though, that Kemi Badenoch has really come out fighting on this one, because I think that really shows that the Tories are really concerned about this. But also, I want other people like Ben Habib, Rupert Lowe to really, really push as well, because we need to work together on this one. This goes beyond politics. This is about decency, Kev, and this is about looking after the old people who looked after us in the 1970s. This is about the people. I remember the Manchester bomb going off in the 1990s. This stuff went on that long. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm so old. I was in London, living in London when all the bombs were going off, with monotonous regularity. In the IRA bombs. I was even working on national newspapers while it was still happening in the 80s. And, the IRA used to call. They used to have a code. They used to call. I once picked up the phone and got an IRA phone call. And there was a code that they used to say, and then they would say, a bomb's about to go off in Ebury Street. And then we'd have to call the police. But it was always too late. The bomb would then go off. So I remember those days. They were dark days. Everybody involved was caught up, if you like, in a kind of disastrous, catastrophic juggernaut that couldn't be stopped. So the IRA, the people of Ulster, the soldiers, they were all trapped in this mad maelstrom, including the soldiers. You can't blame them. Some of them maybe did cross the line, but, that happens in these circumstances. So listen, folks, ladies and gentlemen, please, and non-binary listeners, of course, as well. Oh, dear. Keep it woke. Keep it woke. No, seriously, ladies and gentlemen, folks, give me a call. What do you think about this? First of all, what do you think about Crowborough? But what do you think? We're coming back to that story later. What do you think about this? This awful, disgusting betrayal of the old soldiers who are now in their 80s, or in their 70s, getting on for 80, who may be hounded to their deaths in a sea of worry over this. What kind of a government does this? What kind of a nation does this? 0344 499 1000. When we come back, I'm sorry, but I've got another a story that doesn't put the government in a particularly good light. I'd like to do something a little more positive. It's not my fault that this Labour lot just keeps screwing it up in spades every day in every way. It is turning into a sort of hamster wheel of nonsense and disaster, isn't it? We'll talk about that next. This one concerns how we're going to track down the 53,000 missing migrants and law-breaking foreigners who are on the run in Britain. In America, they're tracking them down with those ICE agents, heavily armed ICE agents, and it's working. I'll let you know how we're going to tackle this problem when we come back after this break.
Like, we were all just mates. We were all just Londoners. We weren't just all in a different demographic box. You know, he divided and conquered. And so I want to unite and not conquer. I want to give London back to Londoners.
And it's so in a sad sense, I'm not surprised that this has happened because the bar is so low.
They were all booing him. People were saying, you know, swearing at him, etc. So there is a real hatred for Khan. People have accused him of being an unscrupulous Nepo baby, and he really is. I mean, the man, like, I wish he had talent,
It's
but
also,
unfortunately
I think,
doesn't.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Senior Fellow at the New Culture Forum, Philip Kisley. Philip, in America, we've seen these ICE squads, the migrant tracking down America's migrants, rounding them up and then kicking them out of the country. You know, it's caused some controversy, but it's working. It's working. They're having no truck with these illegal immigrants. They're not taking it. So they're sending these really serious-looking guys with guns, helmets and all that out onto the streets to find migrants, illegal immigrants, round them up and kick them out of the country. Meanwhile, of course, Donald Trump has pretty much cured their cross-border problems. Illegal migration, immigration crossing the southern border has been pretty much eliminated. He's got it down by I think last month it was 93%. It's up to about 97%. You know, at a stroke, he's done what our government doesn't seem to be able to do. I'll tell you the secret. He wants to solve the migrant crisis.
Do it if you want to.
He's got resolve. Our lot, do they want to solve it? I doubt it. Now, ICE squads, boom, boom, going around the country in America. What is Britain's answer to this? We found out today. Oh, yes. This is going to crack it. This is going to this is going to solve the problem. We have appointed 65 civil servants, desk jockeys at the Home Office to see if they can find the 53,000 illegal migrants and foreign criminals currently on the run in the dysfunctional United Kingdom. 53,000, and the job of tracking them, you see, if it was Trump, he'd send the army out, he'd send, you know, squads of armed soldiers out looking for them, and he'd find them, and he'd kick them out. Desk jockeys at the Home Office, yeah, what could possibly go wrong? They're not going to find a single one of them, are they? It's pathetic.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, they've got the ICE squad in America. We've got the super blob. You know, we've got civil servants. They're going to go out there and they're going to step out very gingerly. You know, it's like asking a bunch of alcoholics to oversee the closure of pubs, or better, a bunch of Johns, punters, you know, to make sure that brothels are closed down. The point is that these people, the blob, the civil service, are responsible for this problem in the first place. And here we have them deployed like superheroes to try and make it better. It really ain't gonna happen. We've got 53,000 AWOL immigrants. Just that number. I mean, forget the rest of the story. That number is terrifying. How many of these people, all criminals by definition, because they're able, how many of these people are in your town? How many of these people are near your house? And what is anybody doing about it other than the bunch of civil servants?
Yeah.
Not only that, Gav, there are 736 foreign offenders who have escaped from prison.
They're criminals, aren't they? Yeah.
And who are wandering around free, easy, probably with credit cards from the government as well. So this is catastrophe. This is chaos. And the very people, if there's one set of people who should not be should be a million miles away from this, shouldn't be anywhere near it, it's the people who are set to solve the problem. It's ridiculous.
Now, let's give Labour their right of reply, if you like. This is Home Office Minister Alex Norris. By the way, Alex Norris is particularly popular in Crowborough at the moment. I'll tell you that. We'll come back to that later in the show. So Home Office Minister, Labour Minister Alex Norris said the Home Office has a range of tools to trace those who abscond. The number of staff involved in tracing activity varies across immigration enforcement depending on operational need, with 65 staff currently dedicated to tracing activities as well as resources elsewhere within the Migration and Borders system who are responsible for recording information when individuals are found or come back into contact. The number of absconders recorded on Home Office systems can fluctuate and there are no formal targets linked to a reduction number, and so on and so forth. You know, so on the off chance that these 65 desk jockeys, by the way, most of them probably work at home anyway, find some of these 53,000 illegal migrants that we've lost and are on the run, then what are they going to do? Get off their backsides and sort of get in their cars and drive around trying to find them? I mean, it doesn't work, does it?
Well, what they'll probably do is make sure they get human rights lawyers so they can stay longer and with luxury.
No, they probably they'll round as soon as they, on the off chance they find any of these missing migrants, missing foreign criminals, the Home Office desk jockeys will probably round them up and bus them to the Immigration Tribunal, where they can begin to launch their appeals against deportation, which will all succeed, right?
Yeah, absolutely, while giving them pedicures and making sure they've got moisturiser.
Yeah, free trampoline lessons, of course, don't forget that.
And being as near as they possibly can to the local primary school.
Yeah.
I mean, we can go on.
Yeah, exactly.
The key thing there, you mentioned that there were no formal targets in reducing these numbers. Now, the formal target should, of course, be 100%. We want to reduce this number by 100%. But if you're setting out to do something, you don't have any kind of roadmap, you don't have any target that you've got to meet, you are not going to achieve anything, are you? Because you don't know what you're supposed to achieve. So this is really, really worrying. And in a way, it kind of just symbolizes what's going on with this country. There are no targets, no nothing, just governing day by day in a stupid, ridiculous, moronic way and putting people in danger. This is another example, isn't it? And how many stories?
Absolutely. I better read out, Philip, what the Home Office says. This is a Home Office spokesman said, in addition to our dedicated tracing capability team, there are thousands of staff across the immigration system who take action against those who are illegally in the UK. Under this government, returns of people with no right to remain in the UK have surged, with almost 50,000 people removed, up 23%. Up from what? The Home Office has announced the most sweeping reforms to tackle illegal migration in modern times. These will make Britain a less attractive destination for illegal migrants and will make it easier to remove and deport them. Here, hey, Home Office, hey, Alex Norris, leave the European Court of Human Rights. Otherwise, you are never going to solve the migrant crisis. Everybody knows that. You should know it. Somehow you don't. But look out. If you're one of the 53,000 migrants and foreign criminals on the run that we've lost in Britain, look out. The civil service is out to get you. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Ah, ha, ha, what a joke. Right, let's go to a break, and when we come back, I'm sorry, Philip, but I think it's another government betrayal we need to talk about. That next. Stay tuned.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. As I said, we've got a number of government betrayals, or what could be interpreted as betrayals, and I think this one, in my view, would be the correct interpretation. Peter Kyle, the tech secretary, one of the many people, the great and the good, currently descending on Davos for the World Economic Forum. As you've seen, Donald Trump has been there, and indeed various other world leaders, global tycoons, all that. You know what happens there in Davos once a year. Peter Kyle was there, and he told this gathering of the great and good that Britain basically should think about rejoining the customs union that, of course, we left when we left the European Union. That's the trading bloc single customs system that all members of the EU belong to. Our Labour government thinks that's vital for our alleged prosperity, the prosperity that they're destroying day by day. But Peter Kyle, a particularly irritating member of the cabinet, if you ask me, he said, he's the one who said that Nigel Farage was a supporter of Jimmy Savile. Do you remember that? Anyway, Peter Kyle said, "Now, of course, it would be crazy not to engage with the prospect of a customs union." So basically, this is all part of Keir Starmer's Brexit resetting our relationship with Europe. In other words, getting more and more sucked back into the Brussels gang, betraying what the people of this country voted for in the biggest democratic referendum of all time here in Britain. That was the Brexit vote. We voted to leave. If we do go into the customs union, what that would mean is we would have to obey all diktats, all rules, all regulations from Brussels, all EU laws, because otherwise we wouldn't be allowed to be in the customs union. So we'd have to take all the orders, do exactly what we're told by Brussels, but unlike before, when we were a member of the EU, we'll have no say at the table, no vote in any developments, any situations. We'll have no vote, no power at the table. We would just be serfs. We would be subservient, told what to do, have to put up and shut up. So I don't know about you. That's not the kind of deal I want to make. I do not want this country to rejoin the customs union on those terms.
I don't want this country to rejoin the customs union on any terms. I mean, back to Brexit.
Well, no.
It was a very simple decision for me. I voted to get the keys to my own front. I voted for the keys to my own front door. This would not only take those away effectively, but it would leave me no, I suppose if you're making it personal, it would leave me no rights whatsoever in the trading place. Now, Peter Kyle has said that this nation needs to have a national conversation about the customs union. We had that. And we finished that. We should have finished that conversation in 2016 when the vote was decided, when we decided to leave Europe. Labour, Starmer, Kyle now, all of them, they can't accept it, can they? They can't accept it. We had essentially, it started a culture war, right? You can pretty much trace the culture wars back to Brexit. The 2010s, we had the conversation. We're still having it. So this man is quite crazy, but it also, again, it just represents the chaos of the Labour government, or the supposed chaos of the Labour government. Keir Starmer actually came out and said, no, we don't want to go back to the torpedo of the trade deal. David Lammy has said that he would love to go back, but then again, he's an idiot, so we don't listen to him. Yeah. The point is that Wes Streeting has also said similar things as Peter Kyle. Now, he is dangerous because he isn't an idiot. So I'm very, very worried about all of this stuff. But as you say, Kev, it's a real betrayal, and it's stealth, it's backdoor, it's governing against us. It's like they're an occupying power, working for Europe and working against us in every single way. None of this works for us. None of this is good for us, and it will make us poorer.
Exactly right. Let me know what you think about this, folks. This is Keir Starmer's Brexit reset. In other words, he wants to destroy Brexit. He wants to get us back into the EU. But if we go back into the customs union, as Peter Kyle made it clear that he desperately wants us to do, this is an important minister, an important cabinet secretary, then we're back in the European Union, but with no power, no vote at the table. Just serfs, servants, subservient. Is that what you want? 03444991000. Before we go to break, I want to talk about old maniac Miliband in just a little while. His latest absolutely eye-wateringly stupid proposal that's going to cost us £15 billion. But just before we do this, do that story, Philip, Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian leader, has launched a scathing attack in Davos on European leaders over their support for Ukraine. He was supposed to be meeting with Donald Trump, but he declared that Kiev was living in Groundhog Day, and every forum like this proves it. Just last year here in Davos, I ended my speech with the words, "Europe needs to know how to defend itself." A year has passed and nothing has changed. Europe, he said, loves to discuss the future, but avoids taking action. Basically, he's had a big go at us, even though we're giving the countries of Europe, particularly our country, we're giving that guy, or his country, billions and billions of pounds every year, billions of pounds worth of weapons. And this is how he betrays us, with this ingratitude. I mean, I always defer to people who are far more intelligent about geopolitics than me. And yes, I suppose I grudgingly accept we've got to make sure that Ukraine can resist Putin's efforts to take it over, because if that happens, he'll just move on to the next country. I suppose I get this. But, I'm a simple guy. And frankly, I'm sick of so much of my tax money going to a country thousands of miles away in the east, to fight a war that doesn't seem to affect me. And all the money that Labour politicians in particular, are fond of saying, we have to give all our money to Britain. Oh, we've got to support Ukraine. I just sense, and let me know what you think, folks, I just sense that the people of Britain, are approaching breaking point on this. We are poor. We are suffering a terrible cost of living crisis. We're being taxed to the hilt, due in no small part to our continued massive financial and weaponry backing of Ukraine. I don't want this to go on much longer, and if we are to do this, old little Zelensky could at least be grateful and stop having a go at us.
Yeah, I think this is about priorities, isn't it? And Ukraine, it's all well and good, and we all want to do what we can in the world, But, we have Islamist boots on the ground here in this country. We're not far off civil war. We have hate marches every single week. We've got Palestine Action. We've got the threat of terrorism. We've got all of this stuff happening within our borders because we have porous borders. We don't have borders. So we have to take care of ourselves. It's the old rule. We have to take care of ourselves first, and then we'll take care of other people. Yes, like you, I get the whole thing that, Ukraine needs to be a buffer and we need to do our bit. But when you have this pompous little person who is just performing
He's becoming very entitled, isn't he?
Yeah, he's performing so badly on the world stage. He's acting like an entitled teenager, badly behaved teenager. And he is just making things worse. And I think the people of this country do not want to throw good money after bad and see him make things 10 times worse.
I think the problem here is, as I say, it would be pretty moronic not to accept that we have to somehow help Zelensky resist Putin. But I think the problem here is this guy's getting more and more entitled. He's made this speech in Davos, having a right go at all the countries, including us, the European countries, who've gone out of their way to massively help him, telling us to stop squabbling, more action, less talk, more action. Who the hell do you think you are? Carry on like this. Tell you what, we'll stop giving you anything. How'd you like that? I'm just saying that what I think the problem here is, that while we probably do have to support this guy, it is the body politics. Starmer, all the politicians in Westminster, you see them all wear their little Ukraine badges. They just assume that we, the people, are four square behind this largesse that we continue to show to Kiev and to Zelensky in Ukraine. And I'll tell them this, I know that is not the case. The people of this country have had enough of that, but they don't console us on it because they assume we can entirely support it. The Starmers of this world, they think it's a given that we don't mind giving so much of our tax pound to Ukraine. I'm telling him that is not the case.
Yeah, it should be the absolute opposite. It should not be a given. We should think very, very carefully about where we throw our money around. We shouldn't be throwing our money around. There should be rules imposed on this man to say that we will give you some money if you do A, B, C, and D. If you get out of your way not to antagonize people who are very easily antagonized. It's all very simple stuff. It used to be called diplomacy, and now it's just gimme, gimme, gimme. Yeah. And as you say, Ken, I think the people of this country, certainly the listeners of this, viewers of this channel, they are sick of it. We know that, and that's a big proportion of people out there.
Well, Cliff in Berkshire sent me a text, which I think sums up what an increasing number of people in this country are feeling. He says, Zelensky has got a bloody cheek and should be grateful he's getting any help at all. Talk about biting the hand that feeds him. If I was one of the European leaders, I'd quietly say to him, listen, Volodymyr, one more speech like that and you don't get another penny out of us and you don't get any more weapons. So you play the game, you remember who's supporting you and stop having a go at us, you entitled little jerk. I mean, really, really. What do you think about that, folks? 03444 99 1000. Is Zelensky an entitled little jerk? 03444 99 1000. When we come back, Philip, we're going to talk about Maniac Miliband, Crazy Ed's latest balmy plan that will probably bankrupt the nation. It is unbelievable. That next, stay tuned.
We were all just mates, we were all just Londoners, we weren't just all in a different demographic box. He divided and conquered. And so I want to unite and not conquer. I want to give London back to
And
Londoners.
it's so in a sad sense, I'm not surprised that this has happened because the bar is so low.
They were all booing him. People were saying, swearing at him, etc. So there is a real hatred for Khan. People have accused him of being an unscrupulous Nepo baby, and he really is. I mean, the man, I wish he had talent,
It's
but
also,
unfortunately
I
he
think,
doesn't.
it's
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Senior Fellow at the New Culture Forum, Philip Kisley. Just quickly, great news for the people of Crowborough from the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood. She's tweeted, the opening of Crowborough Military Barracks to house more than 500 asylum seekers is just the start. Oh, Shabs, that'll go down a storm in Crowborough and around the country. Fantastic. God almighty, do these people have even the faintest clue? Better move on, though, because I'm going to come back to that story, Philip. I want to talk to you about Ed Miliband's latest act of insanity. He, the Nut Zero Nutter, this is, as I said, he's not where he should be. He's not straight-jacketed in a padded cell, but his new initiative, yesterday he launched his, wait for it, £15 billion green energy plan to fit solar panels, heat pumps, insulation and double glazing to 5 million homes for people on low incomes. That is households with a total income of less than £35,000, all at taxpayers' expense. Construction companies will also be blocked from installing boilers and gas fires in new homes under building regulations to be announced very soon. This is his Warm Homes plan, to be overseen by the Warm Homes Agency, a brand new government quango, and instantly just about the biggest government quango there is. What can we do about Ed Miliband? As I say, is there any chance we could get him into a straight jacket and put him into the padded cell where he deserves to be?
Well, I mean, I thought we'd seen the last of him when he completely failed as the leader of the Labour Party, but he's back, These pumps do not work. We know that.
Cold Homes. You should call it the Cold Homes Agency, Cold Homes Plan, because, as you say, these heat pumps, they cost, 30, 40,000, 50,000 pounds to install. By the way, they're not a cure-all because you can't put them in terraced houses, and of course they don't work in tower blocks and skyscrapers. So, by definition, they can only be fitted to a small subsection of our housing, so it's not a particular cure anyway. But as you say, heat pumps, they should be called cold pumps. I've never met anyone who's got one who didn't say it's just turned our house freezing.
No, they are a nightmare, and of course that's why he wants them, because he is ridiculous. Like I say, I thought we'd seen the back of him. But the whole, again, this is their stupidity, right? The budget, which is massive here, isn't it, actually isn't enough to cover it all. So they're starting with not enough money, but it's an eye-watering amount of money that is much, much more than the revenue from the TV license, for example. So they are beginning to fail. They are backing equipment that simply doesn't work. And I just look at this and I think, well, actually also you're targeting poor people here. poor people who are not going to be able to
14 million homes will fall into this low-income category, and it looks to me as if they will have these heat pumps imposed upon them. So let me tell you, those 14 million homes are going to get cold.
They are going to get cold, and these, you know, by definition, if these people are poor, they're going to be vulnerable as well, you know. So I think we're going to be, you know, maybe this time next year, we'll be talking about the fallout from this and people dying of cold in freezing homes and damp homes, all because of do-gooder Ed trying to impose his crazy green nonsense on people who want nothing to do with it. And that is the story of our times, isn't it?
This is incoherent, dysfunctional nonsense that cannot work, and we cannot afford £15 billion on this. The madness of Miliband's projects, of what Miliband is doing to this country, covering it in windmills and solar panel farms and God knows what, destroying farms to replace it with panels, that do not provide enough power to fuel the country. It's ridiculous, so inefficient is the windmill system of harnessing power that I read today that windmills lose enough power to fuel all of London for 10 years every single year. And don't forget, windmill farm owners or landowners who have them be paying fortunes to shut down the windmills because they're not always needed. The trouble with windmills and indeed solar panels are, it isn't always windy, and it isn't, well, it's Britain, it's rarely sunny. It is just staggering to me that Keir Starmer is allowing this lunatic Miliband to do this to this country.
Yeah, and this is all about change for change's sake, isn't it? This is progress. We're innovative. We're moving forward. It's this ridiculous
world leader.
Yeah, this ridiculous adolescent revolutionary mindset of change. But the thing is, once you've torn down, this is me being an old small c philosophical conservative here. Once you've torn down everything you've built up over generations, you can't turn the clock back. You can't put the toothpaste back into the tube. Yeah. Once you're saddled with all of this stuff that doesn't work, that makes your people poorer, older, less healthy, once that's in place, you cannot go back. This is catastrophic. It's another thing that's just catastrophic.
And it's going to put our energy prices, you can't overstate this. Britain has the highest energy prices on the face of the planet, in the entire world. 5 times higher than America. And this is just going to make it even worse. We can't carry on like this. And of course, as we always say, this is just tokenism. We produce less than 1% of the world's carbon emissions, less than 1% of the world's pollution. So whatever we do, if we go back to horse and carts and living in mud huts, no electricity, no petrol, won't make any difference. China will continue to spew out 28% of the world's carbon emissions so it can use fossil fuels to build windmills and solar panels to sell us to us, and so the mad merry-go-round continues. It is insanity incarnate. Philip, great to talk to you. Got to move on. See you next week. Always a pleasure. Philip Kisley there. Next up, nurse Jennifer Melley. You don't want to miss that. In the studio. Stick around.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, it's not often that I get starstruck, but I am at the moment because in the studio I've got this big TV star. You know, she's making all the headlines in all the papers all over the place. Yes, it's Nurse Jennifer Melee. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you. I can see how happy I am.
Yeah. I just said to Jennifer, seriously, well, you know Jennifer's story. 2 days ago, thank God, the NHS finally saw sense. Just to recap, just in case you've been living on Mars and you're not quite sure what the story is. Back in May 24, 2024,
yes.
she's a dedicated nurse, 12 years experience, working at a giant hospital in South London called St Helier. In comes a prisoner, you know, on release because he needs treatment. He's a 6 foot tall convicted paedophile. He demanded that Jennifer addressed him by his preferred female pronouns. She declined to do so because it clashed with her religious beliefs. She said to him, "Why don't you tell me a name you want me to call you? I'll call you that." But that wasn't good enough for him. He lunged at her, tried to attack her, and then called her the N-word 3 times. And for that, in effect, the NHS backed him, a racist male convicted paedophile, over a dedicated nurse of 12 years experience, Jennifer Melee, a lovely mother of 2, never done anyone wrong in her life. That's outrageous. For 2 years, come March 25, so quite a few months later, in desperation, because no one would listen to her, the NHS wouldn't listen to her, the Royal College of Nursing, her union, wouldn't listen to her. She went to the press, she talked to the Mail on Sunday. That doubled down her suspension as far as the NHS was saying. You've broken patient confidentiality. They were going out of their way to back the paedophile over Jennifer. 2 days ago at a disciplinary hearing, I think probably because of a lot of pressure from people like me, really, the media, just saying this is outrageous, this doesn't make any sense, this is against all justice. They decided no further action, so Jennifer can, thank God, go back to work. But make no mistake, when she went to that disciplinary hearing, it was the night before, Monday, wasn't it? Yeah. She came in to see me. She was on our show. And I'll be honest with you, she was a bundle of nerves because the next day she was facing the sack and the very real prospect of being struck off as a nurse. You know, for refusing to call a male paedophile she or her. That's outrageous, isn't it? Anyway, she won the case. No further action. She can go back to work. But let me tell you, her battle against the NHS isn't over. We'll talk about that in just a little while. But Jennifer, welcome to the show, of course. As I was just saying off air, the other night she was a bundle of nerves. Today, I'm not kidding you, there's an effervescence about her. She's like sort of shining with joy. She really looks great, I'm serious. So let's deal with that first. How are you feeling? You must be still so relieved.
Honestly, I feel extremely, so much overjoyed and relieved. A weight lifted off my shoulder every day, worrying what is going to happen.
For 2 years?
Having to wait, yes. It's been just this painful journey that I had to endure since that awful night.
That awful night,
yes.
Yeah. So, as I say, you could have, you know, when you were in on Monday night, I mean,
yes.
You were quite reasonably a bundle of nerves because it's not so much just losing your job, getting sacked from St Helier. You were facing being struck off as a nurse, the career that you love.
Absolutely, and the thought of that is quite traumatizing and overwhelming to see that I could lose my entire career.
Yeah.
You know, my registration struck off and.
So what was Tuesday like for you when you went? How are you feeling when you went to the disciplinary hearing? You must have been.
I know on Tuesday, thank God for the Darlington nurses and
yeah, of course
Christian
they
Concerns,
came to
yes.
support you, didn't they?
We had the church, on their knees praying, family and friends.
Oh, we were too. We were too.
Everyone, globally, it's like a global issue. Honestly, everybody was looking forward to this moment, and
you know what? You want to know something, Jennifer? The whole nation was behind you, because I put a tweet out,
yes,
and saying, the madness of this and best of luck and all that. 200,000 people watched that,
yes.
saw that.
Wow.
So people were gathering around your cause because it was, as I dubbed it, justice for Jennifer. Good, isn't it? That's why I get the good big bucks. See that alliteration, justice for Jennifer. So clever. Seriously. I think the nation, the people of this country, who are great people, and they know about fairness, they know about justice, and they could see that you had been subjected to a great injustice. So you went into that tribunal, or the disciplinary hearing, a bundle of. How long did it take? Roughly,
we started about 3:30, and we got out at 5:20, 5:30.
Okay, because your friend Tom Allen from Christian Concern, he, perhaps I'm revealing confidences here, but hey, what the hell. No, he was confidentially keeping me abreast of what was going on.
Yes.
And he WhatsApped me about half an hour before the decision to say it's looking good. And I said, oh, yeah. So... What did you feel when they finally said no further action? I mean, you must have sort of exploded with joy.
Oh, I went into like a shock mood, and I was just in tears, joyful tears, and I just said, thank you, Lord. It was such a battle. This was more than just an ordinary battle, it's more than spiritual battle. I tell you, it's difficult at the time that I had to endure,
of course.
I was so happy and glad that this is over now.
And of course you're a very devout Christian, and your faith has helped you through this. And
absolutely.
And your kids as well, of course.
Yes.
So you must now have redoubled your faith in the Lord, because he certainly helped you out, didn't he?
Absolutely, and I say, thank you, Lord, your promise keeper.
There you go.
He is a promise keeper, and he never said that he will never leave us nor forsake us, no matter the situation we face.
Yeah, it would have been so outrageous if there was another decision. But the way the authorities go in this country, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't confident. You know what it's like. Yeah. According to the woke NHS, what you did is you broke their sacred trans laws. They managed to segue the dispute with you into something else when you went to the Mail on Sunday.
Yes.
Now, just to reiterate that, folks, this was May 2024. You are suspended, they said. Why was she suspended? Because she refused to call a racist male convicted paedophile by his preferred female pronouns. And the reason for that, of course, Jennifer, was because of your faith.
Absolutely,
You didn't feel you could do that. You were very reasonable to him. I saw a lot of headlines. Tell me about this. I saw a lot of headlines saying you insisted on calling him Mr. Is that the case? Because I got the feeling that what you tried to do was to come to a compromise, that you could call him something that was neither, Mr. or Mrs.
Yes, I was just I said to him, I can't call you Mrs. or Miss, but I'm more prepared to call you by your name. And he kept just being really angry, and it nearly hit me in the head because he was just restrained. Yeah. So
in other words, Jennifer, all the headlines, nurse who insisted on calling patient Mr. That's not actually strictly true.
That's not true.
You didn't say, I'm going to have to call you Mr.
No.
You tried to be reasonable, say, look, my faith...
I was on the phone.
Yeah. And as I say, that's why you were suspended, because you broke the trans rules. That's May 24. In frustration, Well, I'm trying to work out how many. That's 7 months, 12. What is that?
22nd of May.
How many months is that?
Roughly.
See, if I had a good producer, he'd be working this out for me. But he's reading the papers in there. How many months is that? May 24 till March 25. Look at this. 10 months. 10 months.
Yeah.
They're worse than I am. 10 months. So for 10 months. Nothing happened.
Nothing happened, yeah.
You know, you're going, come on, can I go back to work? So that's why you went to the media. That's why you went to the media.
Absolutely.
To tell your stories, you said to me the other night, because no one else would listen. The NHS weren't listening, your Royal College of Nursing, your union wouldn't listen, which, by the way, is an outrage, because, you know, they're woke as well, aren't they? That's why you went to the Mail on Sunday. And then, of course, the NHS changed the goalpost. Oh, well, the reason she's suspended is she broke patient confidentiality. Well, you hadn't until then, for 10 months. So why were you suspended then? That you were suspended because, you know, you broke their sacred trans laws. That's what it was, wasn't it?
And then was...
So don't let the NHS say it was about patient confidentiality. No, it wasn't. It's because in the NHS, if some bloke says you got to call me a woman, the NHS, you got to do that. You got to do that. You know. Well, Jennifer didn't, but she didn't call him Mr. By the way, that is misleading. And by the way, that's another headline I saw in the papers that really annoyed me. It must annoy you too. It was after you. Well, nurse who misgendered male patient is cleared, or you know, it's misgendered. You're not misgendering him.
Yeah.
His gender is male.
Male.
So to misgender him, you call it, you know. You gendered him. You called it. You treated or you addressed him, if you like, by his proper gender. You didn't misgender him. I hate misgender. What does that mean? What you're talking about is if you call a bloke in a dress him, which is what he is. If you address a bloke in a dress as a bloke, as a man, which is what he is, all these wokies, they go, "You've misgendered her." No, his gender is male. So Jennifer didn't misgender him, she correctly gendered him, and she didn't call him Mr. So let's get that straight. Now, Jennifer, as we're all absolutely thrilled for you. What did you do to celebrate, by the way?
It was just so overwhelming.
10 pints down the pub or something?
So much, like friends and families just overwhelmed with this lovely news and the victory that we have now at hand. I just thank God. And I can't wait for the tribunal in April.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in just a second. But you can now, of course, return to work. When will that happen?
We have to yet wait for that confirmation in writing, you know, for from the management.
And when do you think that will come? They'll have to do it, won't they?
Yeah, they would have to, maybe in the next week or two, make a decision.
So when do you think you might be back at work? What would be your estimation?
They would probably give me some time to try to...
you need a holiday.
Yeah, time to just sort of get over it, and you know, and before resuming.
But when would you think? A month's time, something like that?
Roughly, maybe 6 to 8 weeks, I suppose.
And you must be excited about that.
Well, I've got mixed emotion, you know, having been off for nearly 2 years.
I imagine you going back to work, and all your colleagues or your mates going, "Where have you been? You've had a long time off."
Yes, you know, I would have to go all throughout the trainings and all the readjust. And
well, listen, let's move on to something. This is serious, folks. This is the Jennifer's long battle against the NHS is not over, because, quite rightly, in my view, she is now launching legal action against the body, the trust that looks after St Helier Hospital. It's called the Epsom and St Helier University Hospitals Trust. She's launching legal action against them, claiming she was the victim of harassment, discrimination, victimisation and breaches of her freedom of thought, conscience and religion. That case will be heard at an employment tribunal in April, yes?
Yes.
And I would have thought, you tell me what you think, I would have thought I don't see how you can lose that. I mean, given that they've decided no further action.
Absolutely.
So, will there be any money involved for that?
Well, they'll probably argue that I was being paid and stuff like that, but they've done more damage.
But this
than
is
just that.
compensation.
Yeah, compensation.
You deserve compensation for your ordeal. That's what you're suing for.
Yes,
compensation for the unnecessary, unjust
treatment,
and
harassment.
Any response from Epsom and St Helier University Hospitals Trust on the news that you're going to sue them? No. Not written respond. I would not yet. Okay. And tell me about I saw you on College Green with our Samara the other day, and the nurses. How did you did they get in touch with you, or did you get in touch with them? How did that happen? Or was that through Christian Concern?
Through Christian Concerns and Claire Coutinho.
Claire Coutinho, Tory Shadow Cabinet Minister, has been a rock for
absolutely
all this.
Claire and who else? Carla Lockhart.
Well, so the Tories are decent MPs have been right. Well, look. Every decent human being in this country, you had to be rooting for Jennifer. So between now and then, you said you might be 6 to 8 weeks. Going to go on holiday or something like that?
I need a rest.
Yeah. I bet you do.
I need a holiday.
Yeah, you going to go somewhere?
Maybe. I'll just see the preparation. My friends are saying yes, we could go out for holiday. Yeah.
By the way, what about your daughter? You were telling me the other day she quit her role at the NHS. Remind me what she did.
Yeah, pediatrics.
She's going to go back now.
She's saying she wants to go back and do a master's
because she.
Probably specialised now, which is where will be at least. It will be good for her to go back and look into a specialty to focus on now.
Okay, well that would be good news. And lastly, what are your feelings about the NHS now? I mean, in this disciplinary hearing on Tuesday, they finally saw common sense, finally saw decency. But you know what we're talking about? You were the victim of a kind of crazed wokery that dictates so much activity at the NHS. You know, this producing of pamphlets for mothers, pregnant mothers that never use the word mother or pregnant or female, calling women people with cervixes and so on and so forth. Does that lunacy is ongoing, and the Darlington nurses, of course, they had to fight tooth and nail because the NHS said to them, you've got to put up with guys coming into your safe female space and flashing themselves around your changing rooms. That was the NHS's diktat. The nurses won that case as well. How so slowly but surely the NHS is being told you've got to abide by the Supreme Court's ruling on biological sex. How far do you think the NHS has got to go before it finally accepts it can do no more of this nonsense?
With these 3 cases that has recently happened with regards to Sandy Peggy, the Darlington nurses and my case now, I believe they will take it more seriously and put policies and guidelines in place, and also that will help out, in the healthcare sector, even with midwifery, with what is going on, with understand with what we're treating, has really keen to about the puberty blockers and all these. Will really help.
So, well, listen, Jennifer, you're a hero. We love you. We're so thrilled that you won that case, and keep in touch about your ongoing battle against the crazily woke NHS. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Jennifer Melley.
Thank you.
Back in
and welcome to Down the Local, the show that goes from pub to pub across the country, speaking to the punters about the subjects driving us all nuts at the moment.
That's Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, Rachel McCounts.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Suits, and that's about it.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going. I have 0% beard, and I feel
raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of its desperation.
Is public transport good value for money?
No, it isn't.
You really don't like speaking to people.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Now, we started the show by talking about Crowborough, the poor people of Crowborough, that lovely picturesque East Sussex town, a small community of about 22,000 people who have for months now, most every weekend, been marching passionately in protest against the grim prospect of more than 540 mostly male, I think they're all going to be male, young asylum seekers being foisted upon them in the local army training camp. Throughout those months, throughout those passionate protests, massive marches, by the way, massive marches. What's it called? Crowborough Shield, I think the organisation's called. The government, the Home Office, has basically ignored them. I think told them lies, frankly, kept them in the dark, promised them potential reviews, maybe we won't do this after all, but nothing. And now the government has abandoned them. Overnight, under the cover of night, the first 27 migrants were bussed into Crowborough, and the rest will soon follow. Now, Crowborough Shield has been run by an excellent woman who's a chairwoman who's she's been put her heart and soul into this. Sadly, at this point, to no avail. But a warm welcome to the show to the excellent Kim Bailey. Welcome, Kim.
Hi. Thanks, Kevin.
Now, bear with me, Kim, because I don't know if you saw it. Our Samara Gill was down in your town earlier, so we played this earlier. It just goes on for about a minute. It's Samara setting the scene of what's been going on in your town. So you can watch this as well, and we'll talk after this. Take it away, Samara.
I've been speaking with people who are absolutely enraged. Property prices, they think, have just plummeted in their local area. There's someone who's got an actual patch of land that is right where the barracks are, and they can already see men loitering. They're worried about the safety of their women and girls. This is a town that has been absolutely sort of plunged into mayhem because of the government's choices. Now, Shabana Mahmood has obviously said that this is a good thing because she wants to get migrants out of hotels. That's the whole Labour edict, is that they want to get migrants out of hotels and into army facilities that are a little bit less cushy and luxury. But the effect is still same on the communities. There are still men being placed into communities which we know nothing about. So I think the root cause, it has not been solved, and there are plenty of people out here that I'm just looking at behind me that are fearing at the moment and feeling like their town is a little more unsafe today.
I would suggest, sadly, a lot more unsafe. Now, Kim, thanks for joining me. Let me just read to you and get your reaction on this. Our wonderful Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, tweeted this at just after 4 o'clock this afternoon, triumphantly. The opening of the Crowborough military barracks to house more than 500 asylum seekers is just the start. I will bring forward site after site until every asylum hotel is closed and returned to local communities. We are removing the incentives that draw illegal migrants to Britain. Well, she isn't, of course, but the joyful, triumphant tone. This is just the start. How are you feeling after the first 27 of more than 540 young men, foreign undocumented men, were bussed into Crowborough Army Training Centre under the cover of night into your town, with more than 500 more still to come? How are you feeling?
I don't think there's any words that can describe what I'm feeling, actually, Kevin. But first of all, just goes to show how much she actually knows. Crowborough isn't an army barracks; it's a cadet training centre. And she should hang her head in shame. It's absolutely disgusting. That tweet is literally a threat to the rest of this country. To say that Crowborough is just the first is not something to be proud of or brag about. This is a threat. She's disrupting communities, and I think it's absolutely disgusting. And I agree with what the rest of the media and the country is saying, that she should hang her head in shame. It's an absolute disgrace.
And you've been fighting this passionately for many months. The marches that you've been staging are really impressive. Thousands and thousands of people. Bearing in mind, I think it's a town of only 22,000 residents, which is half the problem. But, you know, most of the towns seem to be turning out week after week. You've no doubt been, you know, doing your level best to get your message across to the Home Office, to the government. They haven't been listening. I think they've been lying to you. What do you think?
Oh, they've been lying from the off. It first broke in October. We served papers on them at the beginning of December, and they had 21 days to respond. They responded saying no decision had been made. They then make their decision literally just after saying this, and then move them in within about half an hour of actually formally letting us know. It's been game after game. It's all been lies. I mean, if you read the screening direction that Shabana Mahmood had issued, it's all lies, it's all bias. I mean, I could just reel off lie after lie in that document and what they've been saying. It's a disgrace. There is absolute, I mean, the conduct of this government demonstrates that this decision will not withstand proper scrutiny. If it could, they wouldn't have withheld disclosure, misled by omission, snuck the asylum seekers in under the cover of darkness. I mean, it just goes on and on. It's a disgrace.
It is a disgrace. I couldn't agree with you more. Have you given up? I mean, are there any more legal manoeuvres you can try?
Yeah, I mean, we've applied to the court. We've asked the courts to expedite to get the court get the hearing heard. We are pushing for disclosure because she's unlawfully withholding disclosure. She's not following legal process, and their behaviour is just absolutely appalling. So we are cracking on. The fact that they've moved the asylum seekers in doesn't stop what we're doing. In fact, it just gives us more strength and more energy to move forward. We're not stopping, and them moving in doesn't change our direction. We're still going to push for a judicial review.
And am I right that these 540 or so asylum seekers that will be moved into the Crowborough Army Training Centre, not barracks, they're all going to be young men?
Yes, so they're all single males that have come over on the boats from France. They are undocumented, so we have no history on them, and they are free to come and go. So, yeah.
Young men. You see, the popular, fashionable way to refer to these people, because they're mostly between the age of about 16 and 35. So people say, oh, they're young men of military age. I'll tell you what is more relevant, the way I tend to refer to them. They're young men of sexually active age, and we've seen what's been going on around the country. An alarming number of charges, convictions of sex offences by these asylum seekers who come from countries with very different cultures, very different attitudes to women, and who, frankly, cause fear and consternation in the communities on whom they are foisted, including now yours. Have you got kids at all, Kim?
Yeah, I have. I've got 4 children. They're all grown up now. But, you know, what you're seeing in the media is causing fear. And that fear is real. And that is a key thing that has been overlooked and ignored by the government. You know, there are no impact assessments. There's no risk assessments. There has been no engagement to alleviate or mitigate against any of those fears, whether real or perceived. It doesn't matter. The fears are real. And it's an information vacuum. We've got a Wealdon District Council that the leadership team we haven't seen. We haven't seen them at all over this. We've had some of our fantastic councillors that have been out protesting with us every week, but the 2 leaderships, Rachel Millward and James Partridge, they're not engaging. They haven't engaged with us at all. Their legal team are engaging with our legal team, but actually on the floor, engaging with the residents, with this community, there's been nothing. It's just absolute silence. And
as I say, you know, I don't want to be sound like a harbinger of doom, but, you know, these asylum seekers, these young men, you know, who arrive in towns, arrive in communities, they've got nothing to do all day. As you say, they're not locked up, they can do what they like, they can move around the town. I mean, that must be a pretty terrifying prospect for parents, well, in fact, for women, for children, for parents.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fear for anyone, whether, you know, 500 to 600 men with nothing to do, irrespective of where they come from, with absolutely nothing to do in a town where there's nothing to do, is terrifying, because what are they actually going to do? They're going to make their own entertainment. They're going to hang around in the towns. We know from Wethersfield, Braintree, Colchester, and all of the other towns that is what they do. They hang around in towns because there is nothing else for them to do. And that is frightening, because in Crowborough, there is nothing. There are schools, there are churches, there are a few shops. There's no leisure activities whatsoever here in Crowborough. The only leisure activity was for the young people, and that was the cadets, and that's been taken away. And they're still homeless. They still haven't found anywhere for our air cadets to actually parade. So they have been stood down since the beginning of December, and their equipment, which is worth millions. You've got a simulator, which is a Boeing 737, which has just been abandoned and left behind. Millions of pounds worth of equipment. So the whole thing is, like I say, it's just a disaster. It's reckless. And Shabana Mahmood should hang her head in shame for what she's done, rather than boasting and bragging about it.
Yeah, she seems to think this is a triumph. I mean, personally, I don't know what you think, you know, just generally, Kim. You know, this government seems to be, for some time now, has been saying, we're going to solve this asylum seeker crisis, we're going to solve this migrant crisis, this is what we're going to do. We're going to move them out of hotels, and we're going to put them into military bases and barracks and things like that. Well, you know, that's like moving deck chairs around the deck of the Titanic, isn't it? It doesn't make any difference, does it?
It absolutely, you're spot on. That's absolutely the case. But they kind of tried to sell it with some rhetoric that they had these 2 objectives that putting asylum seekers into army barracks would achieve, and that was to reduce impacts on communities and to reduce the cost. Now, we know that the cost is astronomical. They're spending millions of taxpayers' money by getting the sites ready, because of the amount of work that has to be done to get those sites habitable is far more overall than what it is to keep them in hotels. Now, the other objective is to reduce impact on communities. Well, if you've got hotels in larger towns and cities, they can absorb 100 or 150 men. They have the infrastructure to do that. But when you're putting 500 to 600 men in a town that doesn't have the infrastructure, doesn't have any sort of recreational activities, this is a huge impact. It's going to be a much bigger impact on communities compared to what it does in cities and towns. It just does not make sense. It just seems to me that it's a rhetoric that says, look, we are doing something, but what they're not doing is addressing the root cause, which is what needs to happen to be able to solve any of these issues. And
you mentioned infrastructure there. I remember the Bibby Stockholm, remember the barge down in Portland. I remember talking to local residents there, and they said, you know, the government said, oh, it's fine, they're going to be on this boat, you know, and they said, the locals were saying, well, look, we just don't have the infrastructure for that. They said, we've got 1 copper and 1 GP. You know, 1 doctor, 1 copper. What are we going to do with 500 new young men milling around? You know, so that must be a similar problem for you. 22,000, you know, small little town in East Sussex. 500, you know, 540 foreign men. Many of them won't be able to speak a word of English, but they need infrastructure. They need medical services. They need dentists. They need, well, you need law enforcement. Presumably, Crowborough just hasn't got the capacity to handle all of that.
So before all of this, if you saw a police officer around Crowborough, you'd wonder what had happened. We rarely saw the police. It's a part-time police station here.
Yeah.
So, now you drive 1 mile. If you don't see a police car, then it's abnormal at the moment. Doctor's surgery. We all know what it's like to try and get an appointment at 8 o'clock on the phone. You're number 27 in the queue. And we know that the asylum seekers are going to be registered with GP practices. We're also told that they will have an automatic route into them, so they won't have to sit on the phone for 35 minutes and told there's no appointments left. So the whole infrastructure, there is nothing that is right about this, and that residents have got every right to be upset about it. And there are no impact assessments, and where this screening direction, it doesn't address anything, and where it does say that there are risks, that it doesn't matter.
And are there schools in Crowborough or anything like that, or do the kids have to go elsewhere to go to school?
Yeah, there's several schools around in Crowborough, from secondary schools down to nursery schools. And there is actually a bus stop right outside the camp, which is another reason that residents are fearful, is because the cadets have been stood down because they've been told it's unsafe for them to be able to be around the asylum seekers on the camp. And that's under the guard of, ex-military personnel. But those same children are perfectly safe to stand at the bus stop 10 metres from the entrance of that camp. So, of course, there's confusion and worry. How is it safe outside of the camp with no guard, but it's not safe just inside the camp with guards? There's just no information and no mitigation, no impact assessments and no engagement with this community to be able to alleviate any of these fears, whether real or perceived.
We talked about Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, who is, in terms of reading the room, is epically out of touch.
She clearly can't do that, can she?
This is brilliant, isn't it? Just the first of many. Oh, yeah, well done, Shabana. What are your feelings about her sidekick, her deputy dog, the Home Office Minister, Alex Norris?
Well, I met Alex Norris at Parliament with our MP, and he actually said that he would give Wealdon District Council 48 hours notice, and I think they actually got about 7 hours notice, which, I think we got half an hour. I do not have much to say about the man. I don't think there's very much that can be said about him. I think he is a very disingenuous person. The things that he said at Parliament, one of the things I questioned him on was, well, what happens to the asylum seekers that just disappear? Because we know that some of them do. At the time, we didn't have any figures. And I said to him, I'm sure it's around 10% that disappear. And these are the ones that surely we need to be concerned about, because these are the ones that are likely to be deported and therefore pose a risk. And his response was, oh, it's not as much as that. It's only a few. They don't want to disappear. And I think it was a couple of days later, it was leaked. And I think Rupert Lowe had then shared it on social media. But it's actually around 40% that disappear. And that's a massive amount. Yeah. And, he said to us, all they get is when they disappear after 7 days, they get a welfare check to make sure that they're OK and they found other accommodation. And then that's it.
I'll tell you something. I don't want to give you a depressing warning here, Kim, but I'm going to. We've covered.
I need more.
We've covered here on this show. We covered a school to the west of London. It's a primary school, big primary school. I think it's called Cherry Tree Lane Primary School. It's got about 600 kids in it. Massive school. And there's a big asylum seeker hotel just the other side of the M4 motorway with a big pedestrian walkway underneath. So all the migrants, the blokes, they come under that every day and they hang around outside the school leering at the kids, leering at the girls. I'm sorry to say that may be the grim prospect of what's going to happen to your kids, to your local schools. That's what these migrants do. They hang around outside schools. Not nice, eh?
I sincerely hope that they don't, because I think Crowborough has been severely underestimated by this government, and I do not see that people are going to stand by and allow, irrespective of where they've come from, groups of men loitering around outside our children's school. It's just not going to happen. Good.
Well, I'm just saying, watch out for it. It is a thing. Will you be doing any more of your marches?
Every Sunday.
Great.
And I expect this. It's going to be raining this week. So the weather forecast says. But I still expect
big surprise.
Yeah.
So, but you're going to be out in. You're going to be out in force on Sunday, yeah?
I would expect so. We'll definitely be there. So I do expect the rest of the town to be there as well, yeah.
Well, listen, Kim, thank you so much for joining us. We're right behind you and we'll keep in touch. And, well, good luck with trying to combat this awful invasion of your lovely town. The fantastic Kim Bailey there, leader of Crowborough Shield, the organisation that's been organising these massive marches. Going to be another one on Sunday. Rain or shine, I suspect the numbers might be big. The government has just imposed this on these people, just imposed it. You know, not listen to them, not talk to them, just done it. And now Shabana Mood says, oh, it's the first of many. Oh, great. This government, you know, they think that, you know, oh, well, as long as you get the migrants out of hotels and into army camps or barracks, then that's all right then. I don't really care. I don't really care. How about getting them out of the country? How about not letting them in the first place? How about actually beginning to try to tackle the migrant crisis? How about offering a few deterrents, you know, as opposed to all the incentives you offer them? You know, free food, 50 quid a week, free lawyers, free doctors, free dentists, free driving lessons. You know, why don't you stop that madness? Why don't you tell them when they come across the channel illegally, sorry, you broke our laws, no asylum, off you go. Well, how about that? Detain and deport. Why don't you do something about it and stop celebrating, imposing hundreds of young foreign men on communities that just don't deserve it? Absolutely outrageous. 0344 499 1000. When we come back, we're going to talk about Peter Mandelson. Don't know why, but yeah, I do actually. I know you don't want to talk about him, do you? Who does really? Why doesn't he disappear? That is the reason for the story. Why doesn't he go away? Why does he keep writing pieces in the newspapers and in the Spectator magazine and going on telly? We don't want to see you anymore, you disgraced little man. Go away. We'll talk about that next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm going to talk to former... Well, actually, let's get him on now. This is former Labour MP, Simon Danjuk. Welcome, Simon.
Good to be with you, Kevin.
Always a pleasure. Now, I want to talk about Peter Mandelson, who doesn't seem to have got the memo. We don't want to see his disgraced little face ever again. Popping up here, writing pieces for The Spectator every week, going on telly. No, mate. You're a paedophile's friend. You disgraced yourself. You are in shame. Go away. Even The Guardian said a couple of Sundays ago, it is time this man disappeared. But he doesn't get the message because he's so full of himself. Let's remind ourselves of his latest, a shocking blunder, when he went on to Laura Kunsberg's show on the BBC and refused to apologise to the victims of his best pal, the convicted paedophile, now dead, thank God, Jeffrey Epstein. Take it away, Mandy.
Do you want to take this chance to apologise to his victims for your association with him, which went years beyond his original conviction?
I want to apologise to those women for a system that refused to hear their voices and did not give them the protection they were entitled to expect.
So Simon, I mean, was he still, hovering around Prince of Darkness during your Labour days in Westminster?
Oh yeah, no doubt about it, Kevin. I've been in and around the Labour Party for for over 35 years. So Mandelson has been a very big figure practically through all of that time that I was involved in the Labour Party. It is exceptionally distasteful, isn't it, to say the least? But in some ways, I'm glad that you're talking about him, because if we don't talk about him, we won't get him out of public life completely, and that's my ambition, to see him thrown out of the House of Lords. And this casts as much concern about Starmer's judgment. Not only did he make him US ambassador from Great Britain, but he also keeps him in the Labour Party now. I mean, why would you do that? It's a real problem for Starmer, is this. But as you say, he's been given a platform by the BBC. He's written 2 articles for The Spectator.
Yeah, it's the second week in a row. It's like a memo to Lord Gove now, Michael Gove, the editor. Enough of this. And by the way, he's not a very good writer. His piece this week is, it's tedious, bleeding obvious. Oh, let's compare the rise of reform with the SDP back in the early 1980s. Oh, brilliant. And it's not very well written. He's not a particularly good writer. So stop putting him in The Spectator. And his failure to apologise to the victims of his best pal, Jeffrey Epstein, is a disgrace. And let's remind ourselves, I keep hearing this guy is a genius, he's brilliant. I guess he's a decent political operator, but he has absolutely no judgment whatsoever. Sacked by Blair for Notting Hill Gate. Remember that, when he took a big mortgage from Jeffrey Robinson without telling anyone. Then sacked for dodgily trying to get the Hinduja brothers a passport, a British passport under the counter. Sacked for that. And then he gets this job, God knows why, of being our man in Washington, our ambassador to America, the top diplomatic job in the country, and disgraces himself when we learn of his outrageous friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, which continued way after Epstein was convicted of child sex abuse. Peter Mandelson has no judgment, and as such, I reject the notion that he's some kind of political genius. I think he's an idiot.
Completely agree with you. And, you'll recall that I helped many of the victims in the Rochdale grooming scandal.
Yes, of course, yes.
Who were abused. I wrote the book about Cyril Smith, Smile for the Camera, The Double Life of Cyril Smith, which is very much about a big politician who was also a paedophile. And the reason I mention this is it's this that makes me feel so strongly about it. I've met very many victims of child abuse. Epstein was clearly a paedophile. Mandelson clearly knew that. But he carried on, not his association, as Laura Koomsberg calls it. It was a close friendship.
Best pal.
Best pals, not an association. Close friends. And anybody who's studied the Epstein case, as I have, will know that anybody entering his properties, whether it's in New York or on the island or anywhere else, would know that what was going on there was clearly wrong.
Yeah, exactly right, Simon.
So obvious.
Yeah, he don't forget, Mandelson is his own greatest admirer. He's the one who spread this myth of the political genius, the mastermind behind New Labour and all that. Well, yeah, I mean, nobody's saying he's a moron, but frankly, politically, he is a moron because he's got no judgment. And what he said to Laura Koomsberg is another example of his profound stupidity. Laura Koomsberg said, your friend, you kept going to Pedo Island, where there are all these young women, some of them underage, scantily clad, all these powerful men turning up, doing God knows what. You must, what did you think about? Well, you must have known about that. Oh, no, I didn't know, because I was a gay man. I mean, if you believe that, I've got some swampland to sell you in Florida. Who does he think he's kidding? Of course he knew.
Of course he knew. Trying to kid us. And I make this important point. One of the reasons that Cyril Smith got away with being a paedophile is because, one, he used to use corporal punishment. He used to smack boys who he abused. He used to smack them. And in those days, in the 70s, etc., it was more accepted to use corporal punishment. And then on the other angle, because being gay was being accepted, some people just thought he was a gay man. And that he wasn't a paedophile, and that's how he managed to. That helped him get away with it. But the bigger point in all of this is paedophiles like Cyril Smith, like Jeffrey Epstein, get away with it because powerful people choose to turn a blind eye. And Mandelson chose to turn a blind eye. He should have no place in public office ever again.
And as The Guardian said, it's time for him to disappear, but he won't get the message because I mean, I don't know Mandelson, but it's the image I get of this guy is what keeps him hanging on in there, writing pieces for the Spectator, going on to the BBC, is that probably the biggest factor in his life is his own ego.
Oh, undoubtedly, I think that's exactly what's driving him, and I think to the point where he's actually annoyed by Starmer for having been sacked for a third time in his public life. I think he's annoyed at Starmer for that. But you're exactly right, and his judgment isn't good. If you read the...
It isn't good, it's catastrophic.
He is totally uninformed. He's talking about, in this Spectator article, he's talking about reform and what the British people think. He has no idea what's going on in the real world, and it shows in the article. Apparently he touted the article all around various publications and magazines, and finally the Spectator accepted it. Why people are trying to regenerate him and give him another chance is quite beyond me.
I'll tell you, just finally, you know, that piece that he wrote repeated that tired old mantra, or, you know, elections are won from the centre. I'll tell you, what Mandelson doesn't realise is time has moved on. The times have changed. And I'll tell you this, Simon, I don't think the next election will be won in the centre. Do you?
No, I don't. No, you're absolutely right. You know, things have moved to the centre-right, if we want to use that trajectory. Centre-right politics, and people are coalescing around reform. There's no doubt about that. And that's where I think the next general election will be.
Yeah, he's just trying to knock down reform, isn't he? Bad luck, Mandelson. No one's listening to you anymore. Don't write any more pieces. You can't write. Simon, great to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. Simon Danjit there with some very forthright opinions about Peter Mandelson. Just what I wanted to hear. Former Labour MP, knows about Mandelson, the Prince of Darkness, they used to call him. Let's go to break.
Welcome to Down the Local, the show that goes from pub to pub across the country, speaking to the punters about the subjects driving us all nuts at the moment.
That's Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, Rachel McCown.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Suits, and that's about it.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going. I have 0% beard, and I feel
Raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of its desperation.
Is public transport good value for money?
No, it isn't.
You really don't like speaking to people.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's take a quick call. After the 9 o'clock news, we're going live to Los Angeles to talk to our great royal guru, Kinsey Schofield. Harry's had quite a week in court. We'll be talking about that. But first, let's quickly talk to Chris in Epsom. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Kevin. It's been a while since we spoke.
It certainly has. You want to talk about Mandelson? I got a note here. I don't know about this. That he's still being paid. Is that what you think?
Yeah. Well, there's two things. First of all, how we got into this China mess was really Osborne leading Cameron by the nose, and Osborne's still involved. And then Mandelson, who's involved in a dozen Chinese venture companies.
I don't know about this, so I've got to be careful. I don't know about this. I'd have to look this up, so I can't really engage in this conversation, Chris. I mean, what do you say he's still being paid for?
Right. He was recalled as ambassador. He wasn't sacked.
Yeah.
He was recalled, which means he's more than likely still being paid as ambassador.
More than likely, but you're not 100% though. I mean, I'm not trying to knock down what you're saying. It's just you understand. I can't just sort of deal in facts that aren't quite facts. I have to know it's 100% true. If he's still being paid as our ambassador in Washington, even though he's not doing that job, then that might be a bit of a scandal. But I'm not sure that is the case.
That's the difference between the two words, recalled.
Yeah, but you don't know he's still being paid. I mean, look, what I'm saying to you, Chris, is I'll definitely have a look into this, because if so, that is a great story and a bit of a scandal. But you understand, I can't really talk about this unless I know it's 100% true, because I might be maligning Mr. Mandelson with untrue facts. Do you see what I mean?
Kevin, I'm not saying it for sure.
Okay.
What I'm doing...
Well, we shouldn't really be talking about it. You can't sort of say, maybe he's still being paid. You know, that's no good, is it?
If I send the Freedom of Information Act in...
Well, we'll do that then.
What sort of weight does my...
Well, everybody's got the right to put in a FOI request, including...
Yeah, but if it comes from one of your team...
Yeah, well, I think it's probably quite easy to find out. Listen, Chris, I've got to go to the news now. I'm sorry to sound negative there. You're making interesting points. It's just, you understand, I can't deal in vagaries. I have to deal in facts, because I might, if we get this stuff wrong, we can get into legal difficulty. But interesting points. I'll look into all of them, Chris. I promise you we'll get back in touch. Thanks, mate. Chris in Epsom there. Now, next up, we're going to go over to Los Angeles to talk to Kinsey Schofield, because Prince Harry, has had quite a week in court. He says that the journalists in Britain, reporters in Britain, have made his wife's life a misery. We'll have a look at that and much more, so stick around for that. See you in a minute.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
There's a new talk show currently on YouTube right now. You can watch it if you like. No, actually, don't watch it now. Wait until this show's over. It's presented by our Phil Dave. It's called Down the Local. He tells me, I haven't seen it yet, he tells me, this is what he said. He said, I said, what is it then? He said, it's Question Time meets TFI Friday down the pub. So I said to him, why? Anyway, we'll have a look at a clip in a little while. You can watch it after this show. But anyway, Down the Local with Phil Dave. It's our latest news show. Should be worth a look. But you're not going to look at it now. You're going to stick with me because we are going live over to Los Angeles to talk to the great Kinsey Schofield, host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered. How you doing, Kins?
It's been a very busy week, Kev.
You can say that again. Now, this is what I want to examine. Harry has been in court, and we have, I don't want to. We have to be slightly careful because this case is still going on. He, along with a number of other celebrities, including Elizabeth Hurley, who was in the dock today. I think Elton John's husband, David Furnish, is involved. I think Sadie Frost, a number of other celebrities have joined with Harry to Doreen Lawrence, the mother of murdered Stephen Lawrence. They now Baroness Lawrence. They've all come together and they are sort of jointly suing the Daily Mail newspaper group here in Britain for allegedly using nefarious, illegal methods to hack into information about Harry and the other celebrities to invade their privacy in an unlawful way. So it's not just hacking, allegedly, it's the use of private detectives, allegedly, to illegally obtain information. So it's another one of these cases where Harry continues his war against the British press, the British media, particularly the British media. He loathes the tabloids over here with a passion. So this is the latest round in what he calls the fight of his life, and that is against the newspapers here in Britain. I keep trying to send him a message. Regardless of what happens in this case, and we mustn't prejudge what the outcome will be, obviously, it's likely to go on for at least another week, I think maybe even longer.
I think it's 9 weeks total they're predicting.
Is it that long? God almighty. The mind boggles. Regardless of what the outcome of this case will be, I'm going to give Harry a message. This fight of your life, what did he say? Slaying the dragon slayer. Harry, you will not win this. You cannot win this. These newspapers, perhaps not in paper form, but these media groups, these media companies that you so despise, will still be prospering long after you've gone, long after I've gone. So you can't win this war. It's foolish. However, it's his right to do it if he wants to. Now, he sat in the dock a couple of days ago. Was it yesterday? Yesterday? Yes.
Wednesday.
Yesterday. So he was brought into the dock by his lawyer. By the way, I should stress the charges, the accusations that all these celebrities, including Harry, make against the Daily Mail using illegal methods to gain information about them. The Daily Mail fiercely denies and says that the allegations made by Harry and the other celebs are preposterous and false. So it's a big legal case. That's probably why it's going on for 9 weeks. Now,
we should also mention that Harry was not scheduled to take the stand until Thursday, and his legal team. His legal team accused Associated Newspapers attorneys of deliberately trying to ambush him with premature testimony, and that tension set the tone for, a combative day in court.
Yeah, indeed. Now, he was expected yesterday to spend all day in court like he did the last time. Which newspaper group was he taking on then? I think that might have been the Mirror Group. So he's taken on the Mirror Group. He's taken on the company that I work for, News UK, that publishes The Sun, The Times and The Sunday Times, and of course The Sun on Sunday. And now he's taking on the Mail Group. So, you know, he's perfectly entitled to do this. He doesn't like the papers and he thinks that they unreasonably invade his privacy. But the aspect...
You know, I think somebody in the line of succession wearing a Nazi costume is pretty newsworthy, but who am I to judge?
Yeah, exactly right. He doesn't like things being revealed about him. A lot of people are like that when they're in the fame game. But, look, he was expected to be in the dock for all day, like he was the last time, but this time it was only lasted 2 hours. Towards the end of his testimony, his tear-stained testimony, he started blubbing. You know, tears came to his eyes. He was crying. And what he said was that the newspapers, the tabloids, have made his wife's life a misery. Now, the thing I think about this is, you know, okay, but every time I see Meghan, she's posting pictures of herself or footage of herself on Instagram, beaming away, laughing with the children, the back of the kids' heads, of course. You know, we see her in With Love, Meghan here, happily, you know, constantly carving up vegetables. You remember the Christmas special, where her joy was out of control. Here we are watching the famous twerking video where her and Harry are having a great laugh, you know, dancing away when she was heavily pregnant, allegedly, although a lot of people say that that baby bump looks kind of weird, looks a bit like a pillow stuck up her maternity dress, but okay, let's give her the benefit of the doubt. There she is. Look at this. You know, look at all these pictures, all these things she posts. You remember the festive holiday special of With Love, Meghan, now, of course, cruelly axed forever. We know that for 100%. We'll talk about that in a minute. But remember that? You know, that began with her sort of bursting with joy, skipping through Christmas trees, and as she came into the house to meet all of her hired friends, she actually went, "Hey ho!" Does this seem, look at this, there they are dancing. Does this seem like a woman whose life is total misery? Doesn't to me. Does it you?
Well, to me, I hear not only about Meghan Markle, but him going into the history of his mother, Harry's go-to victim card. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry he lost his mother, but he uses it constantly to his benefit. And with Meghan specifically becoming visibly upset on the stand when talking about her, telling the court the media coverage had made her life an absolute misery, it's the kind of moment that gets headlines and might garner public sympathy, but it also invites the obvious question, what the hell does it have to do with this case? These are events that predate Meghan entirely. So how this newspaper makes Meghan feel today or any time beyond past 2013 is absolutely irrelevant, because what we're supposed to focus on are these dates that between, I think it's 2001 and 2013. It has nothing to do with Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle wasn't even on the scene yet. Did she have a Prince Harry tab open on her Google in 2013 and was strategizing securing him? Perhaps, but she wasn't officially on the scene till 2016. So how is it relevant at all how Meghan Markle is feeling? It's absolutely irrelevant. It's as if he realized the wrath he was facing when he got home because he spent all day talking about ex-girlfriends and realized he better throw a Meghan Markle mention in.
That's true. Yeah, Chelsea Davy and what was the Cressida Bonus loomed large, didn't they? Because a lot of the stories, or some of the stories that he said were obtained illegally, concerned his former girlfriends. But as I say, I don't recognise Meghan looking particularly beset by 24/7 misery. It doesn't look to me as if the papers have turned her life, have made her life a misery. And of course, in the doc, again, I don't want to go into the details because we mustn't intrude on the case and we mustn't prejudge what the final outcome might be.
Let me just tell you that the internet is. And
but hang on, let's be careful here, Kins. Let's be careful.
I think it's fair to say, for Harry to say he had nothing to do with Rebecca English, while there are pictures of him cuddled up to Rebecca English at polo events, I don't think that that's a good reflection on Harry's memory. I don't think that's a good reflection on Harry's testimony. He spoke as if they were
Rebecca
enemies.
English is the royal correspondent of the Daily Mail, currently being sued by Harry. One of the things that emerged was this suggestion that Harry denies that he invented a persona for himself on Facebook called Mr.
That's
Mischief.
the Charlotte Griffith part of
Yeah. That's what I mean, Mr. Mischief, and through Mr. Mischief, he communicated with Rebecca English, but
I think it was just Charlotte Griffith, not Rebecca.
I'm sorry, I got the wrong. Charlotte Griffith is the one on the Mail on Sunday, isn't she? Yeah, we've had her on the show. Nice girl, good reporter. So yes, that was part of the testimony. My point, though, is that what he did when he was in the dock, it's fair to examine this, is he kept pressing the emotion switch. He was asked questions, and rather than actually specifically answer them, he kept saying, it's disgusting what they did to us. It's disgraceful. It's disgraceful. And in the end, the judge said, look, it's not your job to emote. It's not your job to tell us here on the stand. It's not your job to tell us whether you think this behaviour is disgusting or not. It is your job to specifically answer the questions you are asked. So then, towards the end of his 2 hours testimony, he started blubbing, crying, tear-stained and all that. Cynics say that this is the sort of thing that some lawyers rehearse with their clients to press the sympathy switch. That's one thing. But
we should note for the American audience that this is a trial that will be determined by this judge. This judge will hear all of the testimony and then write a report and their decision. It's not a trial where he is having to talk to a jury. But I would say having to be disciplined by the judge multiple times on Wednesday tells me that Harry lives in a home where they litigate regularly. I don't know if he's watched one too many episodes of Suits, but the way that he wanted to clash and fight and argue tells me that it's a constant theme in his home with Meghan Markle. And I'm not saying that they do it together or against each other, but I certainly think that they hype each other up. And they are like, I think that the two of them, gasoline in an open flame, and they debate a lot of these things. And that's why he felt comfortable enough to do that in a courtroom, because I don't think a normal person would.
Well, his performance in the courtroom to seasoned legal professionals was unusual, put it this way. Just constantly giving his opinion on how disgusting the newspapers are and all that. I'll tell you what worries me about his war with the newspapers. I always remember when he described how newspapers operate, how journalists on these papers that he hates operate. He said what they do is they have meetings and they choose their victims and then they work out how they're going to persecute them and come up with stories about them. That for a guy who's at war with the newspapers, he should know that it doesn't happen. I know about these papers. I know what it's like to work on them. That does not happen. It's worrying that a man who sues the papers all the time doesn't seem to know how they actually operate.
I mean, it is. And for Harry to talk about how he was commercialized since he was a young boy, complaining about being commercialized.
Yeah,
every time your wife has a new marmalade to shill, I see the back of your kid's head on Instagram. Okay, you want to talk about commercializing early? Also,
he's saying that the newspapers commercialize him. Well, look.
Well,
newspapers are businesses. What they put in the papers is to try to sell the newspapers. Everything in a newspaper is a commercialization process. Any grown-up would accept that, right?
And if you are naked in Vegas with a bunch of girls, and if you are wearing a Hitler costume, if you are even, you know, he blamed at one point during his testimony, he said that he felt like these newspapers were trying to drive him to become an alcoholic.
To drink and drugs, to drive him to drink and drugs.
Were they at Courtney Cox's house when you were eating the mushrooms and talking to the trash can? Because I doubt there was a Daily Mail presence there when you were getting high at Courtney Cox's house on chocolate mushrooms by your own account in Spare. And, you know, I mean, I think it's just so silly because if you go back and watch, I mean, you might need a Valium, but if you go back and watch Harry and Meghan on their Netflix series, they spend that entire series basically building the case that the British royal family sat around and leaked stories about them throughout their relationship. But while he was on the stand, he argued that nobody in his house, nobody in the royal family would leak against him. It had to have been hacking. It had to have been achieved through some illegal means. But you just did an entire docuseries about how your family is willing to leak stories about you. What's the truth?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. I think it was Chelsea Davy when he was going out with her. She went to, what's it called, Nexus, or whatever it is, Richard Branson's private island in the Caribbean. And the papers found out. And as far as Harry's concerned, she said, he's going, how could they find that out? How could they find that out? So he's trying to sort of say they must have got that through nefarious, illegal methods. So he doesn't seem to understand. I mean, I don't know how they found that information out. But you know, reporters, journalists, it's our job to find things out. And Harry might like to know that journalists are very good at finding things out, and mostly, I would suggest these days, nearly all the time, the methods used are the tried and tested old legal methods. That's what we do. He doesn't seem to understand that journalists are capable of finding out information by perfectly legal methods, like they always did and like they always will. If he sees something in the papers he doesn't like, he decides they must have hacked his phone or something like that. That's a strange kind of belief, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we found out last year through a Vanity Fair piece that Katie Nicholl was close to Lady Elizabeth Anson, who told her a lot about Harry and Meghan's courtship. I mean, and Katie Nicholl is somebody who's had her name tossed around this
Katie
trial.
Nicholl's a Vanity Fair's royal girl, isn't she?
Yes, but she also used to work for the Daily Mail.
Yeah, she did, you're right. Well, Mail on Sunday, yes, you're right.
And I do know, and I'm confident in saying that she ran around with Prince Harry's clique. And that is just old-fashioned reporting.
Yeah, exactly right.
Subject.
Yeah, he refuses to accept. As I said, I don't want to go too much into the details of the case because we should leave that to the courts. But he does refuse to accept. He did refuse in his testimony to accept that his friends, his circle of friends, might be a bit leaky. He said, no, they're not. How does he know?
Right. Yeah, exactly. But one thing that I thought was so interesting was when he tried to argue that reporting on his romantic relationships was not in the public interest. You're in the line of succession. It is in the public interest. I mean, am I crazy to think that it's in your interest to know who he might end up marrying? One tragic event, that could end up to be your king and queen. I would feel like it was in the public interest to know who he was courting and who he could potentially marry one day.
Exactly right. Can I move on to something rather shallow? And it is this. Tom Peck, who writes for the Times here in London, he wrote a piece, a sort of observational piece about this appearance by Harry in court yesterday. And he said that people were rather shocked by Harry's appearance. At 41, he said he looks 10 years older. And rather amusingly, he said, this is what Tom Peck wrote, most Brits who move to California make their friends jealous when they pop back for the weekend looking a decade younger. Harry has somehow achieved the opposite. I mean, I remember this, you know, because when I was living out there, you get this tan and, you know, it's quite a healthy lifestyle out there. You do more exercise than you used to do in Britain. And you come back and you do tend to, people go, God almighty, you know, he looks like Brad Pitt or something, you know. So I remember that syndrome. But he's right. Harry's all wrinkled. He's got, you know, that bald patch. I mean, give it up. I mean, it's massive now, and always got a few remaining strands of ginger hair scraped across it. Give it up. Give it up. But why do you think it is? Well, Tom Peck advances a theory why he thinks Harry might look older than his 41 years, might have somehow escaped the usual West Coast effect of making you look younger by looking older. And that is, he said this, he wrote this, could it be this? Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to wrinkles. What do you think? and in court, he was all, every time you see, he's all scowling, narrow-eyed, furrow-browed. He's constantly angry, seems constantly upset. That will age you, right?
It will. Also, refusing to eat gumbo with the fish parts in it. The fish parts are the healthiest parts, Harry. You should have let Doria add the fish to the gumbo. I think that it is a reflection of the tension at home. Mm-hmm. I do believe Harry and Meghan love each other, but I think that they are incredibly difficult to work with and to collaborate with. And these are two people that have a very expensive lifestyle. Meghan has very expensive tastes, high expectations. Their security bill alone is an ungodly amount of money. So there's, rent a prince at your Hilton Toronto, your Toronto Hilton for a real estate convention. Yeah. Nobody's doing that unless they're in dire need of cash. I'm sorry. Nobody's doing that. The pictures, they dropped the pictures of him with the people that attended around the holidays, hoping that nobody would see them. But, the internet is very unforgiving. I do think that he is lost and struggles and is worried. And
the strain is definitely the strain, I think. And the fact
and
that
I also think it's a fair conversation to have when he opens Spare, talking about how his brother no longer resembles his mother, which is cruel and not true.
Yeah, well, he doesn't look much like her either, does he, to say the least? Enough of that.
Did you want to talk about Meghan Markle's numbers? Did you want to talk about...
I'll tell you what I want to talk about is apparently Meghan feels humiliated this week because it has now finally been 100% confirmed what you and I knew months ago, to be honest with you. That Meghan with Love Meghan has been axed, that Netflix.
Did you see how bad the numbers were, though?
Was it 22 million over how long, wasn't it?
It was like 2.4 million since it's come out. It landed below. It wasn't even in the top 1,000. It was her holiday special was 1,022. Right. And by the way, from a PR perspective only, and I'm not trying to be cold, I'm not trying to be cruel, but Meghan, the chaos surrounding Meghan and her father at the time of her holiday special, Kevin, from a morbid curiosity standpoint, that should have sent eyeballs.
Yeah. And all publicity is good publicity when you're trying to flog a TV show, right? And you're right. I forgot about that. That was right, the With Love Meghan holiday special, skipping through the Christmas trees. Hey ho! I still can't believe she said that. Came out just as her poor father, Thomas Markle Sr., was having his leg amputated, and she didn't even bother go and see him. So normally, if you're in the papers when you've got a TV show coming up, for whatever reason, it will make people gravitate to that show. I think there's two reasons they failed to gravitate towards that show. Was one, it was utter rubbish, total tedium. And the other was, I think people were appalled by her approach to the fact that a poor old dad was in a life or death situation on the other side of the world in the Philippines. Not only didn't she go and see him, she didn't even pick up a phone to talk to him. I don't think people liked that.
And then the second season, which we always kind of roll our eyes during because it was all shot together, landed at 1,224, so even below the holiday special. And that had 2 million views since its release in August. So, that is just so unfortunate. Now, we understand that one of the reasons that they did decide to officially cut ties was because of the chaos surrounding the holiday special. And there are reports here in the States, according to a Netflix insider, that Meghan screamed at execs
Oh,
that
wow, go on.
scandal with her father go away, or they would suffer for it. The quote says, Meghan knew the network had invested a lot of money and promotion into her and Harry, and she wanted them to protect their investment and save her bacon.
Oh, wow.
So the idea of Meghan calling up the suits and saying, fix this, it doesn't surprise me, because we know of stories about the British royal family where Meghan pleaded with the Queen and the King, or Prince Charles at the time, and Queen Elizabeth, to make the stories about her father go away. And the Queen's instruction was, get on a plane and go see your father and shut this down yourself. So that is why I do think she would have the audacity to pick up the phone and try to make this a Netflix problem, when she could take the initiative to fix all of this herself and just absolutely refuses to.
So the headline on this is both of those series of With Love Meghan and the woefully feeble holiday special With Love Meghan. The headline on that is these two series and the holiday special were flops.
Beyond. And she is trying to tell us that perhaps she could be back for Valentine's Day, perhaps she could be back for the 4th of July. I just don't think the return on investments there. And keep in mind, she filmed that the entire 2 seasons and at least a portion of the holiday special in November. I have not spoken to anyone that said that they were shooting with her in November of this year. So knowing that she shoots everything so far ahead, I'm confident in saying there's nothing coming out. We're praying for the wedding date. I'm going to give Meet Me at the Lake a proper burial. Pearl, the greatest animated series that never was. But I don't think that she has any future with Netflix, to be honest with you.
Well, certainly With Love Meghan is been put out of all of our misery, and I doubt very much whether much more will materialise on Netflix, unless Harry and Meghan, the gruesome twosome, do get their act together and perhaps produce this documentary about Diana. That's got a compelling feel to it. But, they never seem to get their act together, do they? And right now, clearly, they've got a lot more to think about. Kinsey, amazing, really good fun. Thank you very much, and have a lovely weekend. We'll talk on Monday. That's the great Kinsey Schofield on the latest goings on Planet Harry and Meghan. What a week, seriously. Give me a call about that if you like. 03444991000. Let's go to break. When we come back, we'll take your calls. I don't know if I've got any WhatsApp voice notes, but if I have, I will play them and I'll read some of your messages. So you better stay where you are. Still lots to come, and at 10 o'clock got a special treat for you. Oh, well, depending on how low you set the bar for treats. It's Andre Walker and Ash Gould taking you through into the small hours from 10 p.m. until 1 a.m. Now, it'll be a great show. So that's still to come. Stay around.
Welcome to Down the Local, the show that goes from pub to pub across the country, speaking to the punters about the subjects driving us all nuts at the moment.
That's Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, Rachel McCown.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Suits, and that's about it.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going. I have 0% beard, and I feel
Raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of its desperation.
Is public transport good value for money?
No, it isn't.
You really don't like speaking to people.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Before we go to the phones, I want to make a little announcement. Our very own Phil Dave, we can never get him out of the pub. He's always down the pub. So we thought that the best solution to this constant absentee problem was get him to make a programme in the pub. So he's done just that. It's called Down the Local. And it's putting the world to rights. He basically goes round pubs, chatting to all the locals about all the issues. It's great. It's a good idea. Brand new show. It was launched today at 1 p.m. And it's available now on YouTube, so you can go there right now. As I told you, you've got to wait till the end of the show, but at 10 o'clock. I don't care about Ash and Ash and Andre Walker, so you can watch it at 10 o'clock. And here's a little clip.
Hello and welcome to Down the Local, the show that goes from pub to pub across the country, speaking to the punters about the subjects driving us all nuts at the moment.
That's Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, Rachel McCounts.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Sinks, and that's about it.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going. I have 0% beard, and I feel
Raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of its desperation.
Is public transport good value for money?
No, it isn't.
You really don't like speaking to people.
You see, talking about the issues that are enough to drive you to drink, so they're in the right place. That's Down the Local with our Phil Dave hosting, and that is on YouTube right now. You can watch it any time you like. Shall we go to the phones? Let's do that. Oh, look, it's one of my favourites. It's Joan in Sunderland. Hello, Joan. What would you like to say?
Oh, three things, Kevin, and it's nice to say hello to you.
Nice to see, nice to speak to you, as always.
Well, the first one is this latest diktat about 65 civil servants trying to locate 53,000 migrants.
Yeah, you mean the ACE civil servant squad?
Yes.
Desk jockeys, they're going to find them, aren't they? No.
Well, I'll give them a month and they'll be off with stress, so never to work again, so that'll be in the bin.
Yeah, well, I guarantee you one thing, Joan, they're probably all working from home anyway. You know, as I said when we did that report, you know, over in America, you know, just a lot of people objecting to it, but you cannot criticise the dynamism of the way Donald Trump is trying to round up America's illegal migrants with these guys with guns, you know, these ICE squads, you know, terrifying, actually succeeding in rounding them up and kicking them out of the country. So that shows commitment. Over here, to do the same job, to track down these 53,000 missing illegal migrants and foreign criminals who are on the run, we're going to use 65 Home Office civil servants. Not going to work, is it?
Well, it takes 12 bobbies to, excuse me...
To pigeon feeding lady, yeah?
Exactly. They're cheaper by the dozen, obviously.
That's right, that's right. OK, that's one point, Joan. What else would you like to say?
Well, I am absolutely disgusted with this treacherous government regarding our veterans. And do you know
Isn't that awful? Isn't that awful?
Yes, and do you know what makes me want to vomit?
Go on.
I go back to the remembrance service at the Cenotaph last year when I saw those treacherous cretins standing there with their poppy wreaths and walking to the Cenotaph and bowing their heads They are
that's such a good point. You know, all this kind of faux, empathy, and yet the point about this is in the Troubles Bill, the Troubles Act, it was enshrined that pretty much all veterans from Northern Ireland from back in the 70s had immunity from prosecution. Not all, it wasn't total, but it's pretty much. And now the Labour government, Hilary Benn, the Northern Ireland Secretary, has gone out of their way to pass an amendment last night removing that immunity. That's extraordinary to me.
Well, when I watched Starmer and Sir Echo, him from the Lib Dems, because we've watched him at Question Times.
Oh, Mr. Ed, you mean, that idiot?
Yes.
God no,
I would just like to thank the Prime Minister. I agree with the Prime Minister. But one thing I am pleased about, Kevin, and this may sound strange, I am pleased that our late Majesty Queen Elizabeth and her husband Prince Philip are not alive to see the treachery that this government has bestowed on her brave serving men and women.
It's such a good point. Absolutely. I'm absolutely. I mean, I thought I was beyond being shocked by this government, but I find what they did is shocking. These are old men. They're in their 70s, knocking on 80. You know, this will shorten their lives. They now got to live under the worry, the cloud of worry that they might be prosecuted for something that happened in Northern Ireland 50 years ago. Hilary Benn said the attempt to draw a line under the past has failed. What do you mean? What do you mean? This government believes in the rule of law. This government believes in being incredibly cruel to our military veterans, if you ask me. Did you have one last point to make, Joan? Did you have one last thing? Otherwise I'm going to give you the reins. You can host the show. But your last point, go on.
When Starmer goes to China, I hope nobody leaves pens around. Otherwise, we might find another chunk of our territory signed off.
I mean, he's off to Beijing, isn't he? Having kowtowed to China by letting them have this very dangerous mega embassy in London. I mean, it's just extraordinary. That compromises national security, just as his Chagos Island giveaway compromises national security. In fact, that compromises the security of the entire West. I don't know. I just can't work this guy out anymore. It's unfathomable, to be honest with you, Joan. Joan, I've got to move on. I've got to take some more calls, but your call was excellent, as always. Really good to talk to you. Thank you so much. The brilliant Joan in Sunderland there. Should we play a quick voice note? Yes, let's. It's Judy on Crowborough.
It were expected that the government would bus these men in at night when everybody would asleep. So they crafty. Well, they think they're crafty. They're not. We all know what they're doing. And I'll tell you what'll happen. People will get fed up, and as soon as the people start demonstrating, it gets worse. They'll bring in martial law, identity cards as well. They'll be just where they want us to be. They must think we're all daft. I'm not.
You're not, Judy. You certainly are not, and neither are most of us. Well, I am, but the majority of people in this country are far from daft. And if this government think they can pull the wool over our eyes, the great people of Britain, they got another thing coming. Let's go to break. We'll come back. We'll take some more calls.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. A few messages before we go back to the phone. This is Jules in Bristol. Jules says, congratulations to the lovely Jennifer. That's Jennifer Melley, our nurse hero, who beat the NHS. Good. I just hope they treat her well when she returns to work. Perhaps you can do a follow-up to see how she is getting on when things have calmed down and the news is out of the limelight. We sure as hell will, Jules. We're going to keep in touch with Jennifer. And as we said, as we reported earlier, her battle against the NHS is far from over. She's now suing them for harassment, discrimination, and assault on her religious freedom, etc., etc. And good luck to her for that. Lucy says, praise the Lord for Nurse Jennifer. Jennifer's a devout Christian, by the way. Well, you know that. Praise the Lord for Nurse Jennifer. He never fails. Heartwarming news in the face of the barrage of treachery from our own utterly malign government. Well said, Lucy. And this is John in London. Hi, Kev. Jennifer has been so badly treated at the hands of the NHS. Well done, Kevin. Oh, this is for me. Well done, Kevin, for your great interviews. Oh, thank you. At least I can do. With Jennifer, God bless you. Thank you, John. Very nice. And John also says, on a more prosaic level, heat pumps are no good. They don't heat your house well enough. That's true. You're quite right, John. That's, you know, he calls it his Mad Miliband, Crazy Ed calls it his Warm Homes campaign or plan. Warm Homes plan. It's going to be Cold Homes plan. Heat pumps don't heat your house. They keep them cold. Right. Let's go back to the phones. Oh no, let's listen to a voice note. This is Richard on Ukraine. Remember we were talking about Zelensky, ungrateful Zelensky, you know, laying into, slamming European leaders, you know, for not getting their act together, not supporting him. You know, we keep giving him billions of pounds, you know, stop being so ungrateful, stop being so entitled, otherwise we'll stop giving you anything. See how you like that, Zelensky? This is Richard on Ukraine.
He's got the bloody cheek to start calling us out for all the millions of pounds that we've stuffed his way in a conflict that's got absolutely no strategic interest for this country. I hope now that all these globalists like Starmer and all the other idiots that have gone on supporting him will finally see sense and stop funding this madness and start putting Britain first.
Well said, Richard. I think you're right. I think more and more Brits are going to get more and more fed up about, you know, he said millions, we've sent billions over to Ukraine, so have all the other countries. This is Linda from Deal, a town I know very well in Kent. Evening, Kev. I am so angry with this vile government. All I can say is that everything they do is against this country and the hard-working, law-abiding population. They are trashing everything that is good. Quite right, Linda, couldn't agree with you more. Amanda said this betrayal of our veterans is surely the final nail in the coffin for Keir Starmer and the Labour Party. If only, Amanda, if only. You know we've got them until 2029. You know, the voters of this country made their bed. I'm afraid they're going to lie on it. I'm not blaming people for voting Labour because they were so fed up with those god-awful Tories. But boy, did we make a national mistake. I didn't vote for them, obviously, but we made a national mistake. And now we're lumbered with Keir Starmer and his craven crew of traitors, if you ask me. Shall we go back to the phones? Let's talk to Angela in Darlington. Hello, Angela.
Well, it's Angelina, but I'm...
Oh, Angelina. I'm sorry, it does say this. Usually I'll get a spell. Angelina, welcome to the show. What would you like to say?
You like me. You get things wrong.
What do you mean I get things wrong? How dare you? But anyway, what would you like to say, Angelina?
Well, I was listening to you earlier on in your show about migrants coming over and what have you, and we don't have a clue what's happening. My partner, he works on taxis.
Oh, yeah.
Well, say partner, we got engaged on Christmas Eve.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. But the lads on the taxis sit outside the town hall.
Yeah.
They sit there sipping coffee and whatever, gossiping like women. That's what they do.
Right.
And the London bus comes up. We're in Darlington. I know you don't like us Northerners. But however, they come off the buses and have little letters with a postcode on.
Who come off the buses? Who do?
Well, they're not people from round here, let's say that.
You think they're migrants, do you?
Well...
Yeah, I've got a note here, Angelina. Let's see if we can cut to the chase here. I've got a note here saying the council, your council, I presume, are paying for migrants' taxis. Your partner, your fiancé, is a taxi driver. So is that the case? Is that the case? I mean, it happens all over the country, I'll tell you that.
Well, it's on account.
Okay. Yeah, the council are paying on account to ferry migrants around.
So they give them a postcode and they say, well...
I see.
Can you take me to this postcode?
Okay, yeah, I got it, yeah. So the rest of us, we have to pay for our own taxis. But the council pay for the migrants' taxis. It's great, isn't it? This is the point about the migrant crisis, asylum seekers, is we are treated as second-class citizens next to them. I totally, I agree with it. It's really annoying, really annoying. Listen, Angelina, congratulations on your engagement. Thank you for a fine phone call. Call me again. Angelina in Darlington. Let's go to break. When we come back, some more calls, some more messages. Stick around.
Welcome to Down the Local, the show that goes from pub to pub across the country, speaking to the punters about the subjects driving us all nuts at the moment.
That's Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, Rachel McCounts.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Suits, and that's about it.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going. I have 0% beard, and I feel
Raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of its desperation.
Is public transport good value for money?
No, it isn't.
You really don't like speaking to people.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Jeremy in Exeter sends me a message, a text saying, it might have escaped Shabana Mahmood, but we don't want illegals out of hotels. We want them out of our country. Very well said, Jeremy. Exactly. The way this Labour Party thinks, we've solved the migrant crisis. We're getting migrants out of asylum seeker hotels and we're putting them into military bases. Oh, that's all we ever asked. Well, so what? So what? Save a few quid. Big deal. What are you doing to stop them coming across the channel? Oh, I know, nothing. Pathetic. It's so pathetic. Let's talk to Jeff in Cheshire. Hi, Jeff.
Hello, Kevin. How are you doing?
I'm all right, mate. What would you like to say?
Well, first of all, nothing to do with what I wanted to say, but heat pumps don't work.
Yeah. No, we all agree with that. I've got some friends who had heat pumps installed because they're middle class and wealthy, and they thought, oh, this will help save the planet. So they went from having really good sort of gas boiler central heating systems to this sort of 50,000 quid's worth of refrigerator, you know?
That wasn't why I called.
Yeah, I know. You want to talk about Jerry Adams? What would you like to say?
Yeah, the veterans that fought for us in Northern Ireland. Yes. They had immunity at one point, I think. Now,
well, that's the point. Last night, the Labour Party, or the Labour government, voted to remove the immunity that had been granted to our veterans who served in Northern Ireland.
There's two people here, Kev. There's two people here. Martin McGuinness, who's now dead, and Jerry Adams, who isn't dead. Now, but those two people,
IRA people, former
in the IRA, and they know what was going on. The government know what was going on. Why don't they go and knock on Adams's door? Why don't they knock on his door and drag him out?
Yeah, well, the IRA kind of have been exonerated, and I'm not sure. By the way, I think Jerry Adams would say that he was always Sinn Féin and not IRA. Martin McGuinness was in the IRA, but of course they all became very respectable politicians and all that. But this is what infuriates people. We are not prosecuting any people from the IRA, the terrorists who made life so hellish, not only in Northern Ireland but also all around Britain throughout the 70s. None of them are getting prosecuted. The only people this government want to prosecute, apparently, are our soldiers who served in Northern Ireland during the Troubles half a century ago. Until yesterday, they did have a kind of immunity. Incredibly, in my mind, the Northern Ireland Secretary, Hilary Benn, put forward an amendment to remove that immunity last night, and it succeeded. What on earth? What a disgusting thing to do.
Yeah, but remove the immunity for Jerry Adams, because they know exactly what he was involved in.
Jerry Adams, I don't suppose we'll touch him. This is the problem, Jeff. It's all wrong. Everything about this is wrong. Leave those poor old guys alone. They're all knocking on 80 now. Leave them alone. Leave them alone. Jeff, thank you for a good call. Gotta go. These are the final two callers, our best callers. Well, no, that's unfair to all the others, but they're two great callers. The first one is Herbie in Harrow. Hi, Herbie. What are you moaning about tonight?
Oh, Kevin, where'd you bloody start, for God's sake? Oh, Christ almighty. It couldn't get any worse even if you tried. This government is beyond belief. They are anti-democratic, they are anti-British, and as regarding this thing that they put through regarding the ex-soldiers and things
it's awful, isn't it? It beggars belief to go out of their way to remove this amendment that it didn't offer total immunity to veterans who served in Northern Ireland during the 70s, but it pretty much did. So in other words, it was a load off the mind of all soldiers who were there during those troubled times. And now that worry is back on their shoulders and they're pushing 80. Come on, that's just it's just cruel.
Well, Kevin, what about the IRA that killed and maimed people, innocent people?
Well, you and I are old enough to remember that. That horror wasn't just unfolding in Northern Ireland. It was unfolding all over Britain, in London and towns around the country for a terrible decade. So here's what we're doing about IRA, former IRA terrorists who may or may not have committed these atrocities. Nothing. They're okay. But our soldiers who were over there during those days doing their duty, some of them in the heat of the moment may have crossed the line now and again, but come on, 50 years later, let's let sleeping dogs lie. Ridiculous.
Yeah. Kevin, it's just beyond belief. This government is just unbelievable. The quicker they go, the quicker we get rid of them, the quicker we may get back to normality. Because at the moment, we're not living in normality. We're living in madness. Yeah. Absolute sheer bloody madness.
This government, They're just incompetent, hopeless, treacherous, don't seem to like this country, don't seem to like the people of this country. The only small solace that I'm taking from it, God knows what state the country will be in by 2029, but I'll tell you this, by the time we get to 2029 in the next general election, Labour will be lucky to get a single vote. They are going to be kicked out of office so hard they won't know what hit them, and they'll never get back. Keir Starmer is ruining the Labour movement, ruining the social project, and in that respect I wish him all the best, but I'm really worried about the next, 3.5 years before 2029.
You and I too, Kev. Definitely you and I too.
Yeah.
I cannot stand it any longer. If we survive that long, and let's say we all go to the madhouse, which I'm sure we'll land up in, we need to be very careful to get rid of these.
Yeah, well, when we go to the madhouse, when they lock you and me in padded cells, don't forget next door to us will be, in a straitjacket, Ed Miliband, the maddest man man in Britain. Oh God, he's dangerous. Herbie, good to talk as always. Got to move on. Herbie from Harrow there. And what better way to finish, to bring the curtain down on a spectacular show, an eventful show, really good show actually. Thanks all of you for tuning in. It is, of course, the great Georgina in London. Hi, Georgina.
Hi, good evening, Kevin.
How's your toe?
Well, I won't be doing any foot modelling anytime soon, let's put it that way.
Well, so you haven't been selected for Man United or anything like that?
No.
You can play for my team, Fulham, if you like. We can always use bad toe or not. I'm sure you'd be better than most of our players. But what would you like to say?
Right, well, I can't say everything I want to say because it would take all night, but I want to talk about Kroger and these illegal migrants being, snuck into there, sort of cloak and dagger style at 3 o'clock in the morning after the residents, all the protests, desperate protests from the residents, just goes to show that this government haven't got any intention of listening to the population.
They haven't, have they? The people at Kroger, the excellent Kim Bailey, who I spoke to earlier, who's been spearheading this passionate campaign against it, the government just completely ignored them, haven't listened to them, kept them in the dark, lied to them, and Shabana Mahmood at 4 o'clock today, 2 minutes past 4 to be precise, tweeted as if this was a triumph. This is just the start, she said. Oh, great!
Yeah. Well, what this government's doing to our country regarding illegal migration is causing fear and palpable resentment, Kevin. We are worlds apart culturally from these people. We are not the same. You can't expect to dump masses of sexually active males from a medieval culture that thinks having sexual relations with children is acceptable and treat women like animals into a quiet rural